Oh yeah, I'm talking to myself. Hmm. Good evening, everybody. Please tap and share. Share this to your favorite maggot. Should be an interesting night. Oh, hey, summertime. It's my What's up, Belinda? What you been up to? Hey, all I can say is you've never had Cajun pasta. What's up, Amanda? You're my new favorite lip. I'm not yelling into the mic, am I? Always the same shit. Hope you're doing good, Belinda. Nah, they don't want to come in here. They know what would happen. They know exactly what would happen.
Hey-oh.
Ew.
Shit, I forgot my drink downstairs. I'll be right back.
What the fuck, man?
I just got distracted watching YouTube, if we're being honest. But I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. No worries. Man, I haven't seen you, Belinda, in a while, man. You've just been kind of hiding a little bit. Oh, hey, Amanda. Maga352 in the house.
No, we're not doing that on Mirror.
We're not?
Not today on Mirror. No.
Oh, okay. My bad. 352. Okay, my bad.
Sharing it out.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I gotta say.
Yeah, I feel you, Belinda. What do you gotta say?
I said, all I gotta tell y'all is good luck. No, don't leave it like that, because the comment section is a bitch to read.
Listen, I don't control this, okay?
Oh, I thought you were switching it. It's such a bitch to read the comments when it's like this. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, I do not control this. You know who controls it.
No, it's me. I did a different background, so I have to make it smaller, and I haven't figured out how to adjust the background.
Go on Instagram. I do it off of Instagram.
No, I know how to do that. I have something, but I just have to make it. I just have to shrink it down. So I'm trying to find the effects to switch the background. That's what I'm looking for. So
yeah, I shrink it down on Instagram.
Yeah, no, I know how to shrink it down. That's not the issue. It's I'm trying to get back to effects to swap out the green screen. So
just blame me. Fuck it.
Yeah, it's fabulous. I mean, usually I blame Jay, so but I can blame you for now. That works too. So
we may have some conspiracy theorists on tonight. That could be good.
Yeah, I was advised that we're gonna have a good debate.
Oh, is that true?
Jeff still wants to debate you, and I told him, I said, man, I said, that's gonna be a bad bad look for you. And this is what he told me. He said, I've been practicing with some of the right-wing creators.
Let me tell you the truth. This is an uncomfortable truth that I'm not comfortable with myself, but I think it's true. When Jeff says he is the best debater on TikTok and that he's undefeated, it's true. He's undefeated. You can't defeat him. Not because he wins the debate. He just eventually everybody gets lost and he's like, I still know what I'm talking about. And he doesn't, but he just wears everybody out. I think that there's some validity saying he's the best debater on TikTok. I think that's fair.
All right, there you go.
Shit. America Unfiltered. I feel like I've dealt with you. I feel like I've dealt with you somewhere. I just can't remember.
I've talked to you somewhere.
Yeah, I think it might have been Amanda's live. I don't know.
Probably, I don't
Well,
know. I'm sure.
well,
How you
welcome in. Thank
doing?
you coming. Good, man. Thank you for coming in. This is a very easy kind of thing. You know, the RT people, they debate pretty much anything. It's just respect and, know what we're talking. The only time that I come in is one of you guys pops off. But the way it normally starts is if you want to pick a topic and you guys want to chat about it, we'll all go on mute, have you guys just talk about it and kind of go from there. Sound good?
Are you asking me to? Yeah, it sounds good. Are you asking me to pick a topic or him to?
Sure, you're the guest. Why not? You're the guest. Why not?
I guess I gotta figure RTP. Like, what side of the aisle are you on? Where do you stand?
Oh boy, I'm gonna be pretty far left on most things.
Okay, like socialist left or like.
So I think that both socialism and capitalism in their purest forms don't work. So I think that the best solution for the economy is a mixed economy, which is what all the best economies have.
Yeah,
so I don't really subscribe to one side or the other there.
We also have that. All right, let's figure out something to actually debate. I think I've already debated you on immigration once, so let's debate like who do you think owns the Epstein files? Who do you think has them?
The FBI.
Okay, I guess this is a hard topic to debate. I would say it's intelligence. I would say it's the CIA or Mossad.
Could it be all three?
I think the FBI have a very watered down version of what the CIA and Mossad have because I think they ran Jeffrey Epstein and financed him.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's a possibility. I don't know that we'll ever really I think it's just always going to be a guess, but I think that there's good evidence for that. What?
What do you think of Elon's new party?
I think that it's going to be really cool and really popular amongst white nationalists and incels.
Among white national, why not? Why do you say white nationalists and not American nationalists? Like, I understand there are white nationalists among American nationalists, but American nationalism is just being America first and like being like Thomas Massey or Marjorie Taylor Greene, who aren't like just only pro-white, but they're pro-America.
Yeah, but you see, Elon's politics are really weird. Like, Elon's politics don't really fall into the MAGA politics. And the people that Elon is popular with, and the reason I chose those is those are just two groups he's popular with. I don't really think that there's any rhyme or reason to Elon Musk's political philosophies. He seems to be just driven by probably ketamine. But
he seems to be driven by truth. I don't think we actually know what his political stances are yet outside of wanting to fix the deficit. And he tweeted out today that the other big stance would be finding the full release of the Epstein files.
Yeah, I mean, Doge sucked. It was about a third as successful as the OIGs that they replaced. So Doge was a disaster. I don't know how serious he was about that. It seemed to me that what he was mostly trying to do is get government contracts, and he got a lot of them. So I don't know that he was really very good at cutting government waste or serious about it, because the OIGs the year previous cut 3 times as much as he cut.
I look at it way different. I look at it as Elon was probably very, very serious, but he understands that there are certain things he really can't touch without his life being taken because of the deep state, which we all know on both sides does agree. There is essentially a higher power to all this that kind of runs things.
Yeah, I don't really care what Elon thinks, and I don't have any thoughts on what he thinks. All I can do is call balls and strikes, and he was pretty shitty at it. So if he's good,
or did they just not let him get it done?
No, he was horrific. He was absolutely terrible. In fact, gutting the CFPB is like one of the things that is going to cost us the most money. That brought back money. That was returning money to consumers. The way that he went about and cut was bizarre. It showed a pretty like comical lack of understanding of how any of these systems work, how budgets work. It was a nightmare. The amount of people they had to rehire that he fired, like it's like thousands of people they fired, and they're like, oh fuck, my bad, never mind. Like they said they were going to cut $2 trillion. Then they cut it. They said like it was going to be 1 trillion. Then they were like it's going to be 120 billion, and it wound up being like 30 billion. They weren't even close.
Equating this to like Elon's ability versus what they're actually allowing him to get done. Like Elon's ability, we all know, is above all of ours in terms of like work ethic and time he'll put into things that he's passionate about. He literally slept on the floor of his factories for months on end, sold all his possessions, and still to this day lives in a tiny home. So
well, but there were people. The thing is, I don't really give a shit about that because there were people that were doing his job before he did, and they were 3 times better at it. So I don't really care. Like they cut more, they found more waste, fraud, and abuse. They returned more money to the American taxpayer. He sucked at it. I don't care what his intentions are. He's bad at it.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't say he was bad at uncovering the waste, fraud, and abuse. I would say they were pretty bad at passing through the cuts that he found. They were pretty bad at
so he's bad at it.
Actually allowing him to identify the right. No, it's again the.
Well, they let the people do it before him. The people before him didn't seem to have a problem.
No, because if they allowed the people to do it before him, we wouldn't have all this waste, fraud, and abuse. No one's actually done this. And
that's what OIG's do.
80% of our government is funded.
Do you know what OIG is?
What are the OIGs?
OIGs, the Office of Inspector Generals. They go through and they audit all of these agencies for waste, fraud, and abuse every year. That's an actual role that already exists in our government. Yes, but nobody. But hold on. Hold on, sir. Please, sir. Let me finish real quick. But nobody seems to know that, and so they thought that what Elon Musk came up with was like this really cool new idea. It had already been thought up, and we were already doing it. And Elon came in not knowing that existed, fired all of those people, and then did what they were supposed to do, and he was worse at it. So, like, I really don't care about his resume. The effect was that he was way worse than the guys previously.
No one said Elon created a new thing except outside of creating the agency Doge. They didn't say he created.
There is no Doge agency. He didn't even create an agency.
They're not saying he created some new concept to cutting government spending. Like Bill Clinton campaigned on that, Obama campaigned on that, George Bush even. Like all the presidents campaigned on cutting spending.
Why do I care about this?
Every single one of them raises the debt ceiling. Every single one of them spends too much, whether it's a Republican or Democrat, and especially if you lean far left and go socialist. Then
slow down, bud. Slow down, bud. Slow down.
Can you not comprehend?
You're giving me a campaign speech. I told you I don't fucking care about what other people did. The end result was he was worse at it. Like he cut 3 times less, and that's the end result. I'm not really interested on arguing whether or not it was his fault. He's not going to do it again. He's already left. That's in the past. He didn't do a good job. I'm not really interested in rehashing whether or not he did a good job. The results speak for themselves. If you want to ride his, if you want to like ride his dick and tell him
than any other.
Hold on, brother.
But again, you just interrupted me saying slow down.
Yeah, because you were going for a long time, so I was just having.
I talked for 20 seconds.
All right, bud, go ahead.
I'm just saying you're not looking at all the opposition that Trump and Elon have faced, and I'm not even.
No, I said I don't care.
You could admit that. They have had more pushback from liberal judges. They've had more pushback from the media than almost anyone else. And it's not easy to get your agenda through when you're getting pushback constantly and you only have like a 180-day window or 130-day window, whatever.
Yeah, I don't care. The end result was they were worse at it. Why the hell do I care if people weren't nice to them? Brother, if you're gonna ask me questions, don't start talking immediately.
Because you're saying you don't care when I'm talking.
Listen. I do control this panel, and let me just say this. Can we mute him real quick? Let me just say this, bud. No matter where you go, everybody on the panel fucking hates you because you never shut up. I'm happy to have a conversation with you, but you've got to get it together. For a guy who's running for office and has a podcast, this might be why you're struggling to get traction because you can't hold it together long enough to let somebody else speak. I will give you as much time as you want as soon as I'm done speaking. But if you ask me a question, please just allow me to answer the question. Is that okay with you?
You realize you've interrupted me every single time I've talked, right? Every single time, except for right now, you've interrupted me when I've talked. So again, stop taking this high horse like I'm the asshole here. Again, your shit smells bad too.
Bro, are you gonna engage in this conversation, or do you want to talk about your feelings some more? Would you like to engage in this conversation?
There you go. What conversation? You're interrupting me every
The one we
fucking
just
time
had, where
talk.
I said I don't care that it was hard for them. I could give a shit. What are you doing here? Are you running like apologetics for the Trump team? I don't care
I
if
couldn't even.
I don't
I couldn't
care if
even get
anybody
my
was mean to
goddamn
them.
food out, Jay. I
Because
couldn't
you're
even finish
saying
my
he wasn't
food.
able
Hold
to
on
get
there,
cuts
American.
done, but he's
Hold
not
on,
able to
bro.
get cuts done because they're pushing back.
Hey, hold on, bro. Hold on, just I couldn't even finish my food. Listen, I asked you. The interruptions got to stop, bro. But if you want to have this conversation, that's fine and all that. But if not, and now I remember you when we were on Amanda's live and you and I went at it. Now I remember you. So please, bro, if you want to have this conversation, have it. But the interruptions on both sides will stop starting now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't care if people were mean to them or made it hard for them. Their job is to be leaders. If they have this much pushback that it makes their job, makes it so they can't do their job, then I would prefer somebody in there who doesn't get so much pushback, who can do their job.
That's such a cop-out excuse to say that, okay, I'm just going to push back so hard that our party needs to lead so there will be people with less pushback. That's like that's a dictatorship. That's ridiculous.
Politics,
That's a dictatorship. That's ridiculous.
A dictatorship would require one leader, and it would be uniform.
Through because we're going to use every way we can push back against you, legal or not, to not get your agenda through.
Yeah, that's how politics work.
Yeah, that's really fucked up that you're okay with the fact
That's
that
how
you
it works,
support that just shows that you are low IQ. And you're still interrupting me. Every time I'm talking, you're still interrupting me. It's hilarious.
You're doing great.
I urge anyone to play the tape back when they say I'm the one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you can laugh. You're so dumb.
Yeah, dude, this is silly. What do you want to argue about? Whether or not people are mean to Donald Trump? I don't care.
No, because you're saying we should
sorry.
have a party that just leads the entire country.
I'm not a Democrat, Chief.
Yeah, you're a socialist, obviously.
I'm also not a socialist. Why do you just ask me? If you want to know who I am, you can just ask.
That was the first question I actually asked you, but you just sound so delusional. It's insane.
All right, my bad, dude.
Yeah, you could just keep laughing instead of explaining because you just got called out for the most ridiculous things.
What do you want to know?
I just said, how do you support something like that? How do you support one party, especially when it's the liberals, running the entire fucking country?
I don't support either of these two parties. I just said that's politics.
It's what you just said. You just said you would support... JD Vance up next, that any of it would be fixed? You think if Donald Trump
I would
Jr.
support
came
like
in next,
Thomas.
it would be
I would
fixed?
support
You
Thomas
think if any of the
Massey.
next people in line, it would be fixed? No,
I'd support Thomas Massey probably, or Justin Amash.
Dude, Thomas Massey is a white nationalist to you, but no, he's an American nationalist.
I don't think he's a white nationalist.
You said American nationalist or white nationalist earlier.
I don't think he's either of those things. I think he's a libertarian.
He's an outspoken American nationalist. Same as Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Okay. I think this is why you're struggling to get an audience, bud.
It's literally why Elon Musk
talking to you is
back.
bizarre. It's a weird. This is a very strange
You
experience.
obviously know nothing about how politics actually operates. You just think in such a two-sided black and white.
Let him go. Let him get it all out.
James,
get it all out.
James, can I bring up Dan real quick, and I'll bring you back up.
Yeah, I don't care. Thank you.
That's weird.
I'm just pissed off that I can't even.
No, you will not.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, Dan. You can't stop me from liking you.
So I'm assuming you voted for Trump, Dan?
You betcha. You betcha.
I like him already.
Wonderful. He will love you then.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Amanda. Man,
How are you?
sarcasm is so yummy. Man, I would love to have sarcasm and ice cream going. Man, this is
going on here?
I don't know. I think he might finish.
All right,
I love
let's
this,
do
Dan.
Dan, what the fuck?
Dan's
back
bringing
on
the
track.
energy.
Yeah. So Dan, what's your strong suit? What do you debate on?
I debate on the fact that again, with the policies from what Trump is definitely running on, the big.
What the
Me.
fuck?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, my
Sorry.
bad. I was like, what the fuck? Were you nutting? Okay, so how about
No.
this?
Abner, no
Everything that
interrupting.
my bad, bro. I'm sorry. So Dan, how about this? Everything that you said, I find it very intriguing as far as the big beautiful bill. So how about you and Jay talk about the big beautiful bill? Fair enough.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and you start off. What is your contention on the beautiful bill, and what do you like? And then he'll respond. I'll go on mute, eat my Cajun pasta.
So the fact of why I like the big beautiful bill as it is because if we had not had that pass, it would not have made his tax cuts that he had back in 2017 permanent. We needed that. If that did not pass, we would be seeing our taxes rise, which we would not have more money in our pockets as it is, and it would hurt the country greatly. So with Trump's big beautiful bill coming to pass, that's going to be benefiting the country because with how he's hitting too late Powell right now and hitting him over and over and saying that please lower the rates, that Powell knows the fact that if he lowers the rates, which he knows nothing of, then the economy is really going to be able to bloom because, again, the tariffs definitely work and these tax cuts are going to be able to help.
Dan, let me ask you a question. Two questions. First of all, would you have supported the big beautiful bill if it didn't include tax cuts for rich people? Like if just middle class and poor people got the tax cut, but not rich people?
I'm sorry. The big beautiful bill helps actually all Americans. It's not just for the rich class.
Hey, brother,
it's all for Americans.
Brother, that's not the question I asked. Listen, I'll try it again. I said, would you have supported it if it cut out the tax for the rich folks? So I understand that it extended the tax cuts for everybody. But what if in the big beautiful bill, they let the tax cuts for the rich folks expire and their tax rates went back up? Would you have supported it?
No matter really how you even look at it, I'm going to support it because it's going to be doing good for the Americans, and I see where you're trying to go at for helping the rich.
Questions, Dan.
It's I know I'm just doing the
okay. Can I ask my second question now?
Okay, go ahead, rip it.
Why would lowering rates? And I agree that lowering rates could add economic stimulus. But why do we need to lower the rates? Why does Jerome Powell need to lower the rates? You said he didn't know what he was doing.
So that way, the fact that we can be able to take the time to be able to pay off for our debt or a debt that is pretty much all fraud and all just fraud and waste.
How would that help us pay off our debt?
Need it.
How does that help us pay?
It would be able to lower things off and weaken the dollar, so that way that we can be able to pay it off.
Well, Dan, can I ask you a question?
In a different way.
Do you know how we determine what percentage debt is paid on? Like on we sell a treasury bond, right? Let's say it's a 10-year treasury bond.
With the interest rates being lowered as they are, and if you have them where they are,
but you've got to answer the questions I'm asking and not just whatever you want, okay? Please. Do you know how we determine what rate somebody pays on a treasury bond?
It's the fact of how high the rate is with the interest rate now is, and we can't do it. I mean,
that's not the question. Dan, clearly that's not the question.
You sound like a libertarian. I'm sorry.
Apology accepted. But I'm just wondering if you know. If you don't know, you can say no. It's okay. I'm just wondering because it seems like you think that if we lower the rate at the Federal Reserve, then the rate we're currently paying on the debt that we owe will go down. Is that what you're saying?
The current rate, because okay, let's back this up. Since I'm going to be able to answer your question this way, I'm going to give the answer again. No, I'm giving a little bit more expanded of an answer as it is, because when we were in Biden's era from his 4 years,
oh Lord, we're going way back.
How too late had raised and everything else, but he won't do anything. In
no, Dan. Time. No, thank you, Dan. No, thank you, Dan. I need you to answer the question I asked. What question did I ask, Dan? 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 You think that's what lowering the rate will do?
Lowering the rate for the interest rate, yes, we'll be able to help to pay off our debt because we can be able to weaken the dollar itself and the bonds themselves.
But it doesn't change the rate of the bonds, right? The rate that the bonds are currently at, it remains. That's only for issuance. Dan. That's only for issuing new bonds, right?
Again, we can be able to fill up the sub because nobody wants to be able to buy off. Nobody wants to buy off our debt, and that's why we have to.
Hey, Dan, I'm sorry, bro. Dan, hold on, just real quick. Dan, hold on. I'm sorry, bro. I'm trying to better myself, Dan. Right? I really am. I really am. So I'm gonna say this as nicely as I can, bro. I really think, and my next door neighbor is looking for a man like you. I really think that I need to connect you two. But this isn't the panel.
Unity, are you trying to get me with another? Unity, are you trying to get me with another man? But excuse me, but no, I'm married. I'm sorry. No. Nice try. I'm married.
Yeah, take that, Admir. Take that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't see that way because so many people perceive me as that way, saying, "Oh my gosh, she sounds like a gay person. Sounds like this. Sounds like this."
But I didn't say nothing. I didn't say that, sir. I said my next door neighbor. I didn't say nothing.
You were pretty much saying that way and saying, "Okay, let's hook Dan up with another gay person and kiss up and then
this is off the rails. This went off the rails.
No, I'm sorry. I have a ring on my phone. Sorry.
Can I pause y'all real quick? Dan, much hearts. Let me bring up Gold real quick to see if he can fight that fight.
Okay.
If anything, I'll bring you up later.
Yeah,
Okay, Dan.
I'll let Gold.
You know you're always gonna be my bestie. All right.
Yep.
Where are these people coming from? What's going on here?
What's up, friend? There you go.
What's going on? I'm out. I'm just disclaimer. I'm Dan's brother, so get ready.
Oh, yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's no need to introduce you.
I thought you were serious. I was like, motherfucker, this is
No.
kind of family reunion out here.
I will say my strengths to debate. I'm really into paper straws and the Gulf of America. So pick one of those two topics and we're good to go.
All right, cool. But I don't think I need to introduce you, man. We've dealt before and all that. Just go ahead and pick anything that you want to talk about, and you guys take off.
Support his immigration policy on that. What do you think?
I disagree, but I'm kind of interested in why that's your thought process. Like, why is that something you support?
Because the U.S. code says that those people are deportable. Right?
I understand. I agree with you. I agree with you there. But like, why do you want that to happen?
Essentially, we're following the law, right? We're following the rules of this country. If I come obviously from immigrants. My parents came what you would call the right way, right? That's a buzzword for conservatives, but they came the right way. They put in their work. If you've ever been to a naturalization ceremony, you got these grown-ass men hitting the ground, kissing the floor, because it's not easy to be a U.S. citizen. It didn't happen at any of the ones I went to, but I believe you. Well, if you come to Miami, it's maybe a different story. That's true. We got a little more passion over there. They got the music always blaring. That makes more sense. Yeah. You already know, right? Plus, but it's pretty cool. It is sometimes. Yeah. It's an experience, and people work really hard to do this. And we follow the law to the T in that sense of getting to where we have to be. And we appreciate it so much that we think the process should be respected, and the laws of the country you want to come to should also be respected. So I don't see any problem with that. We have a lot of people who overstay vacation visas, work visas, et cetera, and they do nothing to try to gain some sort of legal status going forward, right? When your visa is about to expire, if it's like a H-1B visa, a work visa, et cetera, you have about 6 months to renew that, right? This is pre-Trump, before Trump, during Trump, all the same. But a lot of these people don't do that, or they come into the country violating, I think it's 8 U.S.C. 1325, and don't try to ask for asylum or any process to gain legality in our country, right? And yeah, they can work hard. They could be, in agriculture, et cetera, and they could be considered hard workers. But at the end of the day, they're violating our laws, and they made no effort to gain status in our country. So I absolutely believe they should all be deported.
So I think maybe we just we look at things a little bit differently. I already know that we don't keep the letter to the law in this country, and that there are laws that are often overlooked, and I think that that's a reality. All I can do is try and analyze like what's best. Not like I don't really care about principles. I don't really care about like morality. Is it I guess like is it wrong to break the law? Yeah. Do I try not to break the law? Yeah. But all I really care about is like the effects. If we deport every illegal immigrant, virtually every economist says our GDP growth will drop by 3%. We're going to lose about $50 billion in revenue a year, net revenue, by the way, a year, that's going to be pulled out of taxes. 42% of agricultural workers are here illegally. So I just look at the strain that would put on us financially. And by the way, it also costs between like $15,000 and $25,000 to deport each person. So I look at the financial strain that's going to be put on our country, the economic strain that's going to be put on by a massive exodus from the workforce, coupled with people who do come here legally just to work. They're not coming here anymore. Like they're nervous to show up. So it's going to cripple our economy. To me, I don't think deporting all these people because we want a culture where we keep the law outweighs the benefit of keeping those people here, giving them amnesty.
And I'll say this, right? You bring up really good points, but this has already been done, right? We could probably agree that Obama had one of the best. Yeah, well, Obama had one of the best economies of our lifetime, right? For many of us, for decades. It was one of the strongest economies. Despite all that, he deported more non-criminals than criminals. Many of these same agriculture workers that economists are saying would ruin our economy.
Wait, hold on. We got to correct that record, because most of the people that Obama and Biden and Trump in his first time, most of the people they deported were people that they caught and turned around. They never wound up making it here. The people that we're deporting right now, at the very least, they've been here months, many of them years, some of them decades. This is a totally different group of people that are being deported. And the last time we had this issue, what Ronald Reagan did is he just gave 3 million people amnesty, and it was crazy. It raised wages in the areas that they were at because nobody could pay illegal wages anymore. The local economies grew, and there was like a slight negligible in some areas where like the lowest rung of the ladder in terms of people like getting paid, like their wages kind of went down, but it was like by 0.5% in a couple areas. So we've actually seen this work before, where we give working people here amnesty. If you did that and gave people that are here working without a criminal record the ability to live here, stay here, they would immediately start paying legally into taxes. That would inject money into every local economy, especially those farming communities who are desperate for money in their economies. Because you have to remember, when the workers go, the restaurants go, the supermarkets go, the banks don't make as much money. The gas stations don't make as much money. Everybody loses money when this money gets yanked out of the economy. So I don't really, to me, it's not worth it saying like, oh, well, they should do the right thing, because I think economically it makes no sense to do this. It's going to cost $1 trillion, probably.
Well, I mean,
$1 trillion.
I will say this: under the Obama administration, we had apprehensions at like a 4-decade low. And if you look at the own Department of Homeland Security sources for those years, he deported more non-criminals than criminals. The majority of them were definitely not just people that were caught at the border. There were people that were actually here. The difference
is,
they did that
too, but those were criminals. That's what I'm saying.
No.
Majority of
I have a source that says otherwise.
What percentage?
Right, the majority of the people he deported were non-criminals. He deported a lot more non-criminals. Right. But it wasn't just people that were caught at the border, because apprehensions were at a 4-decade low
I never said it
we were
was
under
just
Obama.
them. I said that number was largely made up of apprehensions.
Well, I don't think it's largely apprehensions because, like I said, we were at a 4-decade low at that time. We were in 1970s numbers, right? And guess who was president in 1970? But that's beyond the point. So I don't.
But what was
the
it?
data we have?
What was it for then? No, we were Obama years. We were. Yeah, we were. I mean,
Yeah,
we were.
I can source it if you want, but the data we have is.
Can I just interject just real quick, Jay? And I apologize. Normally I try not to do this, but I'm interested in it because I've dealt with immigration all my life, Gold, for 30 years now. So when you mentioned 1227, can you tell me, does that apply to asylum seekers?
No, they're covered
Okay.
by asylum law. Completely
Okay.
different. I'm talking about those who overstay visa, are criminals, et cetera, et cetera. If you're in the asylum process, you're not deportable.
Wait, Amir. So I would rather than go down like the legality of this, I would like to actually have the discussion on what's best. Like we could go through it and we can pick it apart, and that argument happens all the time. But I'm more interested in having the discussion of like, I'll grant you all of those numbers. It still makes way more sense economically to keep people here, and then to me it just seems like we want to run people out of our country on principle, even if it hurts us. I think that's a weird stance.
If we look at exit polls, the top 3 issues during the election is the economy, immigration, and AVs, right? And if you look at who won the presidency, it's clear that a large majority of the American voter base voted specifically on this immigration issue.
Do you recognize you're not addressing what I just said at all? Like you keep telling me that there's people. I'm just saying, like, why would you want? We're only talking you and I. I'm saying that financially it makes the most sense to keep people here. It's going to hurt us to get rid of people. Even if people did vote for this, if we're just arguing our opinion right now, because I do understand that my opinion's not going to win probably on this. I think the Trump administration is probably going to do things I don't like. But I just don't understand why people are supporting this. I'm trying to understand why this principle of keeping the law is more important than what's best for the country.
And that's the point, right? RTP, what's best for the country is an opinion based on who you're talking to, right? That's why we have different ideas, political parties, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, how is getting rid of these people best for the country then?
Well, I believe following the laws of our country is what's best for our country, right? If you argue that from a moral standpoint, we should circumvent the law, that's your opinion, right? But there are consequences to circumventing the law. There's really no consequence to having an opinion, right? At least not in this country. But countries that some of our people come from, there's definitely a problem with having your own opinion. So what I'm just trying to say is...
But you're picking this specific law because obviously you don't care about every law, right? No, nobody campaigns on every law. This law is directed specifically at immigrants.
Well, immigration, which was a big issue.
So that's why I'm wondering on this one specifically, because obviously you'll overlook laws. You've probably sped in your car before. You've probably rolled through a stop sign. You probably parked somewhere you weren't supposed to be.
None of those things make me deportable, though.
Yeah, but only because you were born here. Because those things would make you deportable if you weren't born here, right?
Technically, if you run a stop sign, well, I mean, if you're driving, you have to have some sort of legal right. You're not an undocumented person driving, right? So that wouldn't happen. You're already deportable at that point.
Exactly.
You see what I mean?
So yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The
so
act
you're
of
willing
running
to
a stop
overlook
sign
it.
doesn't make me deportable.
That's what I'm saying. You don't care about breaking this specific law because you'll overlook it for citizens, but not for non-citizens.
Well, no. I mean, if you run a red light, you're subject to an infraction, right? For a U.S. citizen. But if you're driving as an undocumented person, you're already deportable even before you get into the car.
Yeah, no, I heard you the first time. I heard you the first time. I'm just saying that you don't, like, you're not out there advocating that we crack down on traffic violations.
I mean, that's what police is doing already, right? Like, if they see you run a stop sign, they're going to stop you, right? That's how it works already.
That's a weird response to what I just said, right? Because I said that you're not out advocating for it, and you said police already do that. I wasn't talking about what police are doing. I'm talking about you and your advocacy.
Well, I mean, do you want me to go on TikTok Live and talk about how people who run a stop sign should be cited for it? I mean,
you're doing it on TikTok Live for why people should be deported. That's the whole point.
Right.
Why do you care specifically about this one law?
Because we're arguing politics on a political live, right? So we're not going to talk about stop signs. At the end of the day,
I think you nailed it. It's you don't care. It's just part of politics, and it's part of this.
Oh no, this is exactly what I voted for, right? This is I exercise my constitutional right. Well, I mean, it's something I believe in, right? Just like you believe in the opposite of it. So we both have a difference of opinion on it.
But you only believe in it specifically with this law, right? Like you don't believe that all laws should be treated this way.
What do you mean by treated? Like do you believe that we should follow every law in our country?
Maybe, I don't know. I just have to look at all the
That's
laws.
a weird like, like,
Well,
so
there's laws on
you're
the books
against
that,
the rule of law.
There's laws on the books that are not applied that I would think are silly laws. Yeah.
Okay, so overall, would you say that we should follow the laws of this country, specifically
Yes,
the U.S.
overall.
code?
So I get to pick and choose the ones
Okay.
that I like, which you get to do too. And you're picking this one, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why this one? Why is this one important to follow, but not when you can't really prove any harm?
What do you mean you can't prove any harm?
What harm are illegal immigrants doing here?
If you're familiar with a certain group called Tren de Aragua, especially in the South Florida community.
That's a gang that started in L.A., right?
No, that's actually MS-13.
Is that MS-13?
Tren de Aragua is 100% from Venezuela. They did not start in LA. Two different things. But anyways, Tren de Aragua, right? We've had verified members in my local community causing crimes that we didn't have before.
What does that have to do with illegal immigrants?
Well, you asked, what do you mean? They got here illegally.
You're Hispanic too. So what's the difference between me assuming that you're part of Tren de Aragua and they're from Tren de Aragua?
That I'm not a member of Tren de Aragua, and I'm
are there members
citizen.
of Tren de Aragua who are United States citizens?
You would have to ask their gang. I have no idea. It's
there's
certainly
people that are in
possible, but
jail.
very unlikely.
There's people that are in jail as citizens, right?
What's your point?
Well,
That's what happens if you break the law. You
my
go
point
to
is,
jail.
you're willing to deport people that aren't members of Tren de Aragua because they're Hispanic.
No, I'm willing to deport people who are deportable under law, just like I'm willing to send U.S. citizens to
Right.
jail.
Well, then why
if
do
they
you care
break
about
certain
Tren de
laws.
Aragua? I asked you what
I
harm
just
they are
explained to
doing.
you that they have been causing crime in my neighborhood.
Yeah, but that's not an illegal immigration problem. That's a gang
So
problem.
it's no. Hang on, sir. I think you misunderstood here. The only reason Tren de Aragua is here is because they came from Venezuela, right? These people, if they get vetted, they wouldn't be allowed into our country. We had some issues at the border with Biden, right? He was letting certain people in; they weren't being vetted. Catch and release was happening. Gotaways were at record numbers. These are people that came here under the Biden administration.
What do they have to do with all the other people that are coming here? I understand that the gangs are here. I'm trying to point out to you.
Right?
No, I'm not. I said what damage are illegal immigrants doing to us? And you
I just gave you a specific example of some
gang. That has nothing to do with illegal
compromise
immigration.
of people who can't. No, they're compromised of.
But it doesn't apply to everybody. It doesn't apply to everybody.
Well,
who
nothing
immigrates
applies to
illegally.
everybody, right?
That's the point.
Okay, so
That's the
again,
point.
you're kind of you asked me a specific question. I gave you a specific answer. You said they were a gang from Los Angeles. Has nothing to do with that.
I just mixed up MS-13 and
These
Tren de Aragua.
people. Okay, so Tren de Aragua, they came from Venezuela. It was started in Venezuela. I have very serious doubts that U.S. citizens are members of Tren de Aragua. If you could find me one, I'll stand corrected, right?
Excuse me, what does that have to do? I keep asking the same question. What does that have to do with all illegal immigrants?
Well, I mean, it all is a very generalized statement. So you asked me what
Jesus,
has,
of course.
what has, hang on.
It's all of them.
Archie, 1 second.
No,
you asked me
it's
just
not
a minute
generalized.
ago.
Let me just explain for you then.
One
If
second.
you don't know what the question is, I'll explain.
You
I
asked
mean
me what
all
okay.
illegal
Go ahead.
immigrants. I want to know how Tren de
Okay.
Aragua represents all illegal
No,
immigrants.
that's not what you asked, sir. With all due respect, you
just asked
me
it.
how illegal immigration has affected me personally, right?
Yes.
And I gave you a specific example. Now
That's
you're
not
trying to
illegal
generalize it
immigration,
to
that's
all
gangs.
Okay, so
It's
where
gang
did
violence.
Tren de Aragua come from? Tell me.
Venezuela.
Okay, so what would that mean? They immigrated here, correct?
Yes, but that's not all
Okay.
immigrants. See where we're at?
I never
now?
said all.
I
we're not
did.
talking
I
about
said all.
Okay.
I
okay,
said
so
all.
let's switch it again. So all illegal immigrants are subject to deportation under 8 U.S.C. 1227.
I agree with you.
Yes or no?
Why should we get rid
Okay.
of all of them?
Because we are a nation of laws, bro. Like that's just the reality of it. If they have some sort of legal status in between, by all means, right? That's
right,
the
so
beauty
you're-
of this country. You can
So you're
violate 8
comfortable
U.S.C.
with the
Hang on,
economic. So you're comfortable with
I'm
the
comfortable
economic
with
hit
it as
that we're going to
I was under the Obama administration. Absolutely.
Well, we wouldn't take. We would take the same
RTP,
economic hit.
listen, this is the
you
beauty of
listen.
our country.
You listen. You listen.
All right,
You've
okay.
been
Go
going
ahead.
forever, bud.
I mean, you've been cutting me off
I'm
left
talking
and right.
about
But go
the
ahead.
economic hit. You're now just trying to play whataboutism. The economic hit that we would get from deporting all illegal immigrants here would decimate our country. You can do the math on it. You can pull the math on it. It's going to cost us $50 billion a year in revenue if we deport everybody. And it's going to cost us about $20,000 per person to deport. It could wind up costing almost $1 trillion. And we get no benefit from that other than, and I think this is what you're saying, you get to say we are a nation of laws and these people who broke the law aren't here anymore.
You want me to talk, and I'll be happy to answer that.
That was the end. That was it.
So, as I said, under the Obama administration,
Oh my God.
deporting people left and right.
You're just going to pick up where you went? No, respond to what I say. No. We're not doing this fucking bullshit. We're not. No.
Okay.
You have to respond to what I say.
You're being kind of emotional right now.
No Obama administration.
right.
I'm laughing. No
Okay.
Obama administration.
Are you laughing?
We're talking about the deportations now.
I'm referencing a previous administration
No,
who deported
I need
a lot
to know
of people
about
and
now,
had no
please.
economic burden from it, like you're saying is going to happen.
He didn't
see
get
what I mean?
rid of all illegal.
Okay, I understand that, and nor is Trump going to do that because he doesn't
That's
have
his
enough
goal.
time to do that, right?
Wait, that's
he's
his
not
goal.
going to. Okay, RTP, you seem like a logical person. Do you believe that an administration within 4 years can get rid of every single illegal in the country? Yes or no?
A good portion.
That is completely false. First of all, we're
I
actually
believe that they
under
will
Biden
and the
deportation
ones that
numbers.
the easiest ones for them to get rid of, the ones that they are targeting right now, are all the workers, all the ones that we want to stay, all the ones that help us. Those
So
are
you're
the
for
ones that
subsidizing
those are the
cheap
ones
labor,
that they
right?
are. Those are the people they are targeting.
So you're for subsidizing cheap labor, right? That's what you're for.
No,
in this
I'm
country?
for amnesty, which would require them be paid what at the least minimum wage of that state. I want amnesty.
Right now, that's not what's happening, right? These
I
people
know.
are being paid well under. Are you
I
okay
know.
with that?
No, I'm not okay with that. That's why I want amnesty to fix that.
Well, that's definitely not happening under the Trump administration. It
I
didn't
know.
happen under the Biden or any other administration outside of
Happened
Reagan.
under
like you
Reagan.
mentioned.
Happened
Well,
under Reagan.
How long was that?
Yeah, it was in '82, I think.
Something like that, right? So it's not something that any administration has actually taken
I
seriously.
know. It's
right?
just
So
that's why I don't
it's
like
not gonna
Democrats
happen.
or Republicans.
Oh, so what are you? Since the other guy asked you, and I don't think
I'm
you
a
answered
person
it.
who comes to my opinions through facts and data, and those
Okay, who did you vote for?
those happen to line up with the currently with the left a lot more than the right.
Okay, have you ever voted for a Republican?
Yeah, I worked on Mitt Romney's presidential campaign. I voted for John McCain.
Oh.
I was a Republican. I was an elected official
So you've never voted
in the
for a
GOP.
Republican? Okay.
I was an elected official of the GOP, buddy.
Well, but that GOP, the names you reference, that's not the GOP of today. You agree with that, right?
Yeah, no, they could read.
Yeah.
The GOP of today is light on reading.
You're right. We don't know how to read very good. But anyways, like I said, man, I'm going to stand by what I believe in. I believe they should be deported unless they find another way to stay in the country. If they ask
I know.
for asylum
I'm asking
and
why.
it gets approved, by all means.
I know, but why?
And I've already explained.
You haven't.
Explained it already.
You still haven't.
I have.
You haven't explained
I
why.
believe we
why
should
you
follow
think
the
this
law.
is
It's a very
better-
simple concept.
You haven't
So I have a
explained why
question.
this is a
Go.
better solution than just giving amnesty. Like why you're comfortable taking the economic hit. I just want to know why you're comfortable taking.
Every other administration has been the same.
That's not an answer. That's what I thought.
Well,
It is an
hold on,
answer. I believe in
but,
that.
But Gold, can I ask you something? You do know when you say Democrats haven't tried nothing. I mean, listen, I voted for Trump, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Didn't they try the Citizenship Act of 2001?
Say it
Did
again.
they try the Citizenship Act 21? Did they not try to do that?
Okay, so why don't you tell us what that was?
Okay, let me put my stuff down.
I'm familiar with it, but like if you want to just paraphrase it for people so they can understand what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Let me put my foot
it's
down.
for us, Admir. It's not for him. It's all for
Let me put my foot down. God damn it! Give me my fucking sausage. All right, hold on. Give me 10 seconds.
So yeah. Like maybe 5 more minutes, and then I gotta go eat. So
I don't know what he's pulling up. I have no idea. You've answered my questions. You're cool with taking a fiscal conservative is cool taking a big haircut to get rid of
That's
illegal
correct.
immigrants.
that is correct.
Good. I hope you guys keep saying that up to the midterms. Just shout that loudly.
I'm gonna say it all the way, man. I believe in what I believe.
I know, and I'm just saying I want you to keep saying because that will help. That will help me. I'm a big fan of you saying that.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes. Right, midterms are right around the corner. I
Oh,
predict we will continue to win.
and I haven't eaten this spicy sausage in a while. So
Go ahead. Emily.
So the Citizenship Act of 2021 was pretty much is a pathway easier to citizenship, which means that lesser wait time, lesser judge times. So it would have basically complied. Average right now time is 4 to 8 years. It would have combined it down to 9 months, and it didn't go through.
And why is that?
Well, I mean, I can pull up why is that. I'll give you that. I'll tell you exactly why is that. I can pull up the roll call as well.
Yeah. It was essentially argued that it was like amnesty, right? That's part of the reason for it.
No, it wouldn't have been an amnesty because it didn't just give citizenship.
Yeah, but what he's saying is Republicans in the media said he's looking up why it was opposed, and it said it was about amnesty.
Oh, God.
And
Right.
it's because Republicans lie. They do this in every bill. They just don't tell you what's in it. They're like, oh, this is amnesty. Or they say, this looks like socialism. I was on a call with Andy Biggs the other day when he was talking about a bill, and this lady asked why he voted against it. It was for like veterans benefits. And he's like, because it had LGBTQ marriages in it. And then I went and read the bill. There was nothing like that, but it's just what they do when they don't know. They just use a buzzword.
It looks like it didn't even make it out of like a committee, from what I'm reading. It never got to a full vote, despite Democrats having a majority at the time. It's a little weird. Somebody on the D side must have voted against it. Yeah, no House rule. It died unalived in committee. Interesting, right?
I'm not sure why he brought this up, so I don't know where Admir went. I'm not sure what his point
Oh,
of
sorry, I
bringing
can't
this up
read.
was. I'm not sure.
No, I can't read. I'm sorry. You're right. Also, a lot of people are saying I voted for a felon.
Wait, what?
No, I'm
Shut
just
up.
reading
You're not
the
talking to the
comments.
chat. No, we don't talk to the chat in here. We're not doing that. What did you
sorry.
just say?
Sorry, silly chat.
Did you think I was making fun of you?
No. I was doing what we're not supposed to do, which is talk to the chat.
Oh,
So
yeah.
disregard that. Scratch it from the record.
Admir, why'd you
No,
bring this up?
the reason why I brought that up because he said that nothing has been done by the Democrats. And I was like,
Nothing has been done if you can't get a
has,
bill out of committee, right? If you can't get a bill out of committee, you did
but
nothing.
it was introduced by Joe
So-
Biden on his first day.
That's perfect. But if you can't get something out of committee, bro, that is ridiculous. You didn't do anything, right? You
Yeah,
can't
but
even
you
get
just
it to
said
a
the
full
Democrats
vote.
tried nothing.
They did not. That's nothing to me. If I put a bill out,
He
and it
sets his
doesn't
own
make it
rules
past
for
committee,
what
it's
words
nothing.
mean.
I mean, that's what I
You
believe.
just get to
right?
pick
That's
and
what I
choose
believe.
when you
But-
actually mean that.
So I'm going to put a bill out. It's not going to make it out of committee, and then be like, "Well, I tried." No,
Well, you're not in
enough, right?
Congress. So probably.
Maybe you're not either, though. But
No, I'm certainly not, which is why I wouldn't say I'll put out a bill.
well, I mean, maybe you'll be in Congress one day, right? Who knows?
Probably not. I say too many bad words on the internet. I don't think I have a shot
Same.
at that.
All right, well, sir, I appreciate it. I'll be happy to come out at another time. It's time for me to mess up some meatloaf. Appreciate it.
That's bullshit. Whatever.
Appreciate ya.
See it.
I hope you choke on your meatloaf.
Oh, that sounds
Oh,
weird.
Admir.
No, that's in a good way.
Admir.
No, that's in a good way.
How can you
I
do that
love
in a good way?
meatloaf, bro. I
You don't-
love meatloaf.
You like choking on it?
No, but
All right, I got another one for you, Admir. Go
oh,
ahead.
fuck. I don't hate. Oh, Spencer. How you been,
Hey.
Spencer?
What's up? I just got drug up here. What you up to?
None, man. What do you want to talk about, bro? I mean, do you want to talk about anything that you're interested?
Immigration. I think amnesty is going to make the most fiscal sense. Honestly, I've been trying to work out some type of package that would be kind of make both sides happy. But I think being that I'm like my biggest issue is always fiscal issues. Typically, our government's too incompetent and we're too broke to deport all these people, regardless of if you want to deport them or not. I think is irrelevant, right? I just think it just doesn't make fiscal sense. So I think some type of probationary period, whatever we as a country decides fair, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, right? And maybe some type of restitution, like a fine, whether that's a flat amount or like a 1% higher tax rate for the beginning, just something that puts some skin in the game, right? Obviously, nobody's advocating for violent, bad people to stay here, right? So I don't think that would be an issue, right? The bad people got to go. But everybody who wants to be a productive member of society that's here, we absolutely just do a nationwide amnesty.
And you're a Trump supporter?
God,
Yeah, I
you
am,
just
yeah.
got hard. That's crazy.
Bro, I mean, listen. I
Love
just
that.
a little bit ago, I
like it.
just said choke on.
Yeah,
I was like, you know what I mean? Fuck.
I agree
No,
with you,
I
Spencer.
agree.
No notes.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
notes.
yeah. Because my issue is this, right? Like, and I think we run into this problem a lot on both sides. Is like whether we argue about if it's a problem or not, or how we got here. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, there's obviously an issue here. Let's just find a solution. Is it fair? Absolutely not. There's a lot of people who've been waiting in the system who are going to get skipped, but it is what it is. You know, like we just have to fix it. And what makes the most sense is some type of massive amnesty package, right? And again, I don't think it's unfair to say you got to pay a slightly higher tax rate for the first few years. You can't go out and commit crimes against people. Yeah, whatever it is, right? We can tweak out the little bitty parts of the bill, right? But and then at the same time, you just have to redo the process of like how we handle it, why we're so backlogged. Take away the incentives, and you'd have to have some harsher penalties, right? Like if you just come across the border, there's going to be a penalty because we can't just do blanket wide amnesty and then people just come and then we just keep doing amnesty because then what's the point? If that makes sense. But yeah, I think amnesty is the most logical solution, regardless of how we feel about it. It just makes the most economic sense.
Yeah, no notes again. This is great. I'm just eating a Fig Newton and listening to you make all these great points. This is lovely.
Hold on, is it blueberry or?
No, it's original fig, dog.
Oh, okay. So Spencer, if I can ask you, because RTP asked this question last time. I mean, would it make any financial sense in it? I'm just trying to see where you come in with this. Would it make financial sense?
Would deporting people make financial sense?
Yes.
Yes, it makes financial sense. However, not as much financial sense as like mass amnesty, right? Like, so they're both valid arguments. I see, ignoring morality, just looking at it from a fiscal problem, right? There would be net fiscal benefits after you blow all this money to deport all the people and all the manpower, right? My argument is that the ROI would take decades to try to recoup that, right? Like, yes, in 20 years after we've taken millions of people out of the system, then it might start to pay for itself. Or we could just fix the problem now and immediately start fixing we would see an ROI immediately. Because they're taxpayers, right? If they're productive members of society, it's an overall net positive to the government.
This is so
wow,
good. This is so good.
I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean,
and you voted for Trump.
I disagree. Right. Yeah, I disagree with a lot of the left solutions, and people just immediately assume I'm like immoral or I hate people. No, I just try to look at it through a lens of what makes sense. Like I'm pretty socially liberal on most things. I just might have a different solution. But I think you're right. I think we're supposed to be the party of fiscal responsibility, and this absolutely on paper makes more fiscal sense. I mean, Reagan did it, kinda,
Talk to me. This is...
Dude, listen, I had to drop down my pasta and shit.
We finally got Abner to stop eating. This is a miracle.
Men, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm very uncomfortable right now. Thank you,
Amanda.
You just film it. Don't worry about this.
That's all. Just film it, and you can watch it later. It's fine. I don't even know what to say, bro. I'm using the new word as flabbergasted.
It's. I don't know why we can't just ever admit if the other side has like a good idea, right? It's like, oh, is the world gonna crumble? It's like, yeah. Like, it makes more sense, right? Like, this... Now, maybe 15 years ago, I might have had a different opinion, because, but things change. Like, the metrics change. And, I don't know, just... Our government is too incompetent. Just even if it was more fiscally responsible to deport people, you trust our government to do this correctly? I mean, no, they're shit at everything.
Spencer, where do you live?
I'm in Texas right now.
You're Texas. Do you know who your congressman is or congresswoman?
Yeah. They don't like me because I annoy the shit out of them. Carter.
Carter?
Yeah.
What's that? Do you know the first name?
Oh God! Why did you put me on the spot? Is it John? I just have his congressman Carter saved in my phone.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, it might be John Carter. There is a John Carter. How the fuck? Does he wear a cowboy hat a lot? Older guy?
Yeah, it is John.
Like 80?
Yeah, it is John.
All right, yeah, look, hey, if you want to run for Congress against John Carter, We'll all help you over on this side of the aisle.
I've seriously considered. I was going to run in the first congressional district years ago, but I was just so pissed off with like neoconservatives, like they annoy me, and so I don't know. And then I just figured, like I piss people off, so I don't know if I want to deal with it. But I call all the state people, the Democrats in Texas, I think. Had a pretty close shot. People don't believe it, but if the Republicans don't fix this, there's a main issue that's kind of being battled out right now. The governor vetoed it, and had he not, I think it would have flipped Texas blue, which is the SB3 bill. If you can look it up, it has to do with a plant.
Oh, that's the one where you guys don't you guys like need 60% there too? No, maybe that's Florida. What'd you guys do with the SB3? There was something.
So SB3 was. Our politicians are incompetent.
Oh, you banned. That's right. It was the ban on even
so
hemp,
it's
right?
Yeah. It's legal now because of the 2018 Farm Bill on a technicality, and they're like, oh, well, the alcohol sales are suffering. So I went and looked at who Dan Patrick's donors were, and they were all big beer companies essentially. And so
can I tell you my conspiracy theory?
Yeah,
it's a real conspiracy theory. I think that. The reason that Republican states are generally slow to adopt that particular plant is because when you partake of that particular plant, you chill and you kind of let down like your ego a little more. And I think it gives people a more open mind. And then once you see that like this thing that made you feel cool. And then once you see that like this thing fulfilling prophecy.
I 100% agree. Yeah. But I think one of the main issues is that in the South, the evangelical Christian groups have been really strongly opposing it, which makes absolutely zero sense. Because
what do they think the burning bush was?
Or the fact that the anointing oil literally in the Hebrew word was kanabasum. And if you believe in science, yeah, I'm dead serious. They changed it to English. It says fragrant cane.
Listen, the book is a lot cooler when you think that everybody that wrote it was like geeked.
Oh, well, here's the kicker. Scientists in Tel Aviv University, they found some like really, really old temples, the archaeological site, and guess what? Was all over the structures was roaches. Covered in cannabis.
Oh, yeah, well, that was close. Yeah,
covered in it. But anyways, yeah.
Hey, Spencer, can I just tell you something? I mean, bro, listen, I'm very impressed, and I actually enjoyed this. But you do realize that you just lost your Trump card, right?
I never really had one.
This guy keeps saying the right thing.
We just claimed Spencer when he passed by my live. We found him on the TikTok streets, and we just kept him. That's how it worked with Spencer.
What the fuck?
And then the other day, he had beef with Jen. Yeah, there was that. I'll drop the tea later.
See, I didn't even read anything before that, so I didn't even know we had beef. I said, I love lamp. And she goes, do you love the end table too? And I was like, yes.
No, prior to that. All right, bye, Spency. We do love you.
Later.
Damn.
It was kind of like it was like kind of just like driving down the freeway and then slamming on the brakes, like the 3 in a row, and then we just hit the brakes with Spencer. It's like, it's kind of jolting. Yeah, it's refreshing.
There you go, Admir. Hey, Beskar.
Good evening.
Howdy.
How you doing, sir?
Good. Just give me 1 second. I got to put my headphones in. I apologize.
No worries. Hey, Spencer, if you can do me a favor, man, I don't see him in, okay. Spencer, can you just type something so I can follow you? But there it is. Okay, thank you. I like that.
Okay, so what's the debate?
Anything you want it to be, man. Kind of whatever you want to do. RTP is willing to talk about just about anything. So me and Amanda is already on mute, and after you guys talk, I'll go on mute, and as long as you guys stay on point, I won't come off mute.
Sorry, let me just correct this, Jen. Spencer told me that I need to be quiet so he could tell me what women want. So he told Jen to be quiet. Jen.
Oh,
That's a death wish.
That's all
That's
I'm
not a
saying.
good idea.
oh,
That's all I'm
Run,
saying,
Spencer.
Spencer. There you go.
Run.
That's what it was. It wasn't end tables. He told Jen to be quiet.
This guy's got it. He's either the
Dude.
bravest man or he doesn't know. It's one of those two.
Yeah, listen, bro. I fear for you, bro. Shit. So, but yeah, that's
All right, go
part.
ahead.
You guys have fun. Listen. Even though I like hearing about immigration, I just think that's some kind of a moot point. I mean, if you want to talk about that, that's fine. It's dumb anymore. But yeah, anything you want to talk about, man, go ahead and I'll go on mute, man. Have fun.
RTP, what's the debate?
I'm not sure. What have you been talking about today? I'm not sure what your views are.
I voted for Trump, but I regret it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes! Hallelujah! I am repenting right now. Yes.
Wrong line.
Whoa,
Best
easy.
card. Wrong line. Go back to Discord. Wrong
Hold
line.
Hold on. I didn't say I agreed with the other side either.
Yeah. What didn't? Why do you regret your vote?
So I regret my vote for one reason, and that is based off of the current way that he is approaching immigration.
Okay. What do you
because
wish he was doing?
All right. So first of all, I think the man has to clean up a shit show of a mess because Joe Biden's head was so far up his own ass that he couldn't tell his ass from the elbow that he was licking. But
goddamn, it's graphic.
Listen, I can't stand Joe Biden. I can't stand Democrats as a whole.
What's wrong with Joe Biden? He can't hurt anybody. He's just a nice old man doing his best.
Let's go for the fact that he was hiding cancer while he was in the Oval Office.
I don't think anybody has evidence of that.
There's clear and apparent evidence of that. The fact that they knew about 4 months before this end of term that he had cancer.
I don't think there's any evidence of that, is there?
Yeah, there is.
I thought that from what I saw, that it's a very fast-moving cancer, and he gets screened I think twice a year, and they caught it, and it's a cancer that spreads really aggressively. So that I think
it is aggressive, but it's not. He had skin cancer in 2023, which already starts it, and then they came out and said that he had it in 2025.
I don't think skin cancer starts other cancers necessarily, right?
No, I'm just saying, he had it while he was in office. They didn't disclose that either. They constantly find.
Can I just
issues.
say real quick, whether we agree with that or not, I think you don't know that. I feel like that's a weird reason to hate somebody. You don't know for sure if they hit it or not.
Hold on. I didn't say that was the only reason.
Okay.
How about the fact that Joe Biden came out on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and said, hey, we're going to force any persons who work for the government, as well as any private American, and have them get vaccinated.
Well, he didn't do that for all Americans. It was just people who worked government jobs. There was no federal mandate.
I worked for the government. I watched the speech.
Yeah, but what I just said, did you hear what I just said? I said that there was
there was no
federal mandate for non-government employees.
But what I'm telling you is what he said versus what happened.
Can I make a note?
Yeah.
Trump did say he had stage 9 cancer.
That's
your evidence, just FYI.
That's true. I think I don't think these are real reasons to hate somebody. I mean, this is kind of bizarre to me, to be honest. Because to add the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and then that he wasn't clear. I do feel like this is a really rather bizarre reason to not like somebody.
Okay. So let me I feel like I should give context.
Sure.
Okay. 12 years in the Air Force, served under 3 different presidents. Registered Republican at 18. My first president of my adult life that I could vote for was Barack Obama. I did, in fact, vote for Obama because I thought, you know what? It was time for a change there. And at the time, before I enlisted, I thought Mitt Romney was a fucking idiot. But now...
You thought Mitt Romney was an idiot?
I did at the time because I believed what the media was telling me. Because he turned around and said, Russia was our enemy. Russia was our enemy.
He did say that. He was right about that, yeah.
He was right. And I thought he was an idiot. I was wrong.
Okay.
So I voted for Obama. Okay? Then we unalived OSB or OBL, sorry. And then I was in the military at that time, and then President Obama decided he was going to downsize the military. That was my life. That was my career, and I was one of those people who got cut. So that right there already gave me disdain.
Wait, how did he downsize the military?
He reduced numbers in military spending. He reduced the amount of people that we were training. He reduced the amount of money that people were getting for allocating and training.
It went up every quarter while he was president.
But the amount of let me rephrase. The training, he cut trainings. He cut personnel. He spent more money on airframes. He spent more money on equipment than he did the people.
Okay, so this is why you hate Biden.
No, this is why I'm saying I don't like Democrats. Why I don't like Biden is because Biden then turned around and blamed Trump for all of COVID, which was an act of God. That's not the case.
Brother, I just don't. If we're being honest, I don't believe any of this. I don't believe that anybody cares that passionately about any of these things. I really don't. I think that you. It sounds an awful lot like you're just partisan. I honestly don't believe that anybody has ever hated somebody for these things. That's crazy.
Yeah, you don't know me, so.
Well, if this is true, like that, dude, it doesn't take very much for you to hate.
It doesn't. Because I live in a world where hate and fear is slammed down our throats every single day because we have nothing
rise
to
above
do.
It, bud. You got to rise above that.
Easier said than done. I don't trust anything. But
right, you see, well, but you trust, yeah. So is that where you're at now? You just don't trust anybody in the government?
I just don't. Pretty much. All that's where I'm at now today.
So how are you going to decide how you're going to vote?
Based off of making informed decisions with factual information.
Okay, so if the vote was held tomorrow, let's say it's you can pick the candidates. Whoever pick would probably JD Vance. You pick a Democrat and a Republican. Or do you want me to pick them?
I will tell you who I think is going to get the nomination, and I'll tell you who I would vote for.
Okay, go
because
ahead.
I do think that JD Vance is going to get the nomination, and I think the only person who can compete with JD Vance right now on the Democratic side of the aisle, with popularity and just obnoxiousness, is AOC. And I think out of the two of those, I would take JD Vance as somebody who served in the military instead of a socialist.
So, wait, JD Vance, who is chronically wrong, it may be the biggest phony I've ever seen in my life. Like, what's the problem with AOC? Why wouldn't you choose AOC?
How does somebody go from having negative $250,000 net value to $250 million?
Well, her net worth is nowhere near 250 million.
I think they just posted a whole thing about this the other day. I might be adding a zero. I
bet I'm going to guess that it's not. We have her publicly available financial disclosures. She has less than $50,000 in assets.
Just a quick Google. Her net worth right now is $500,000. It has been increasing by $50,000 every quarter.
You missed that 29 million. Yeah, you said 29 million.
I said 25, not 29.
Okay, but she makes $174,000 a year. She has a net worth. I think she owns a house. So she'd have to own a house if her net worth is above 50,000 now. So she must have just bought a house. But yeah,
but my point is, how does somebody go from negative to a positive in a short duration?
Well, this is net worth, right? This is just your net worth. So before she had debt and no assets, and now again, I'm only seeing that she has 50,000 in assets. But if she's to $500,000, she probably has a house. And the way that you would get there is that you would buy a house and you would take out a mortgage on that house, even though you have student loan debt.
I saw. So the article that I'm referencing came.
Actually, she only has between 15 and 50,000 in student loan debt.
The one. I'm fact checking myself. Look, all I'm saying is, out of the two of them, I would still take JD.
I know, but do you recognize that? Do you recognize that when I asked you why you wouldn't support AOC, you immediately went to a very easily debunked lie? So now that you know that's not true, why wouldn't you vote for AOC?
I don't like, so as a New Yorker, I don't like where she stands.
Where does she stand that you don't like?
So AOC stands with more handouts from the government. I don't think that's something that's needed.
Could you be more specific on the handouts that she supports?
Increased Medicaid, universal health care.
Okay, let's talk about universal health care. Why are you opposed to universal health care?
I am opposed to universal health care because there is other avenues for people to get health care instead of everybody just having health care just for the sake of, and then that would increase our taxes.
Would it increase the amount of money that Americans pay for health care on average?
The way that our insurance industries are, I'm sure that they would find a way to.
Well, those insurance industries wouldn't exist with universal health care. They would go away.
So
she supports.
I know with my Canadian friends.
Well,
she
supports Medicare for all, and that's not similar to the Canadian system. So you need to compare it to a system that would be similar. The Canadians have more control over the doctors and the hospitals and the way that medicine is actually deployed. But Medicare for all, which AOC advocates for, just replaces the insurance company, and the government becomes the insurance company. So they just pay the bill. They don't control the doctors. They don't run all that stuff.
Well, I'll tell you this: as my friends who are Canadian.
Please, no, I cut you off on purpose because I don't care about your friends in Canada because they wouldn't live under this type of system.
Okay, so you're gonna let me finish, or are you just gonna?
Not if it's about Canada, though, because that's not relevant.
Okay, so let me finish making my statement, and then you can open your ears and close your mouth, and we would have a good time. So my friends who are Canadian who have had to deal with universal health care, as well as my friends in Germany, UK, and other countries that have universal health care, which they would be modeling. Systems. Hey, RTP, shush.
No, those are all. No, I asked you not to talk about this. I want to talk about Medicare for all.
I'm trying to land my plane here, my guy. If you don't want to let me land my plane,
go ahead.
Okay, let me land my plane.
Jeez.
Okay, all these different programs, which the United States has looked at and studied, have all proven that we as taxpayers would pay inherently more for universal health care or a type of universal health care based off of how many citizens we have in our country compared to the rest of the world than any other country in the world.
Wrap it up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to slow it down for you.
Yeah, because you said that we've done studies on this. We have done
studies on this.
Excuse me. We've done studies on this, and the studies say that universal health care would be cheaper than what the average American pays right now. And by the way, all of those other countries, there's a reason they don't copy our system. There's a reason every country in the world does universal health care, but not us. And the only reason that we don't do universal health care is because the private insurance companies line politicians' pockets on both the left and the right, and they are in bed with Big Pharma, and they make sure that they keep Republicans afraid of socialism. When you look at the world and you look at the United States, guess what we're number one at? How much it costs. We're the most expensive in the world. And guess what we're 47th at? Outcomes. We're dog shit at this. And by the way, it's also a misnomer to say that because we have more people in our country that it would be more expensive. That doesn't make any sense. It will be less expensive. That's why insurance companies want as many customers as they possibly can, because it spreads out the cost of emergencies or healthcare or care after there's a disaster. All of this stuff, and you can look at, if you've never read AOC's plan, which you clearly haven't, you would know that Bernie Sanders' Medicaid for All plan not only pays for itself, but most Americans would see a very small tax increase. The average cost per person would be between $8,000 and $10,000. Right now, we pay $13,000 to $14,000, and we have 90 million people uninsured. Everybody would be insured. There would be no copay, no deductible. Our quality of care would go up. The price of pharmaceuticals would go down. Every country does it this way for a reason. We're the only idiots still doing it this way.
Except for you're wrong, because you didn't listen to what I said. What I said was it would be more for the taxpayer. How many illegals do we have in our country? How many people do we have claiming amnesty in our country? We have to pay for them. Do you forget that?
Nope. I included that in the number.
Okay, so if taxpayers are paying more, are paying more because they have to pay for other people.
No, they're paying less.
You don't know how math works, apparently.
No, so if the average American is paying $13,000 a year for their health insurance, and Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All is going to cost between $8,000 and $12,000 a year for medical insurance, that's a savings on average of $1,000 a year. That's how math works. 13,000 minus 12,000 equals 1,000.
You just said for Americans. These are not Americans.
No, this is everybody in America. They included. They include the number of illegal immigrants that we guess in that math that Bernie Sanders laid out. It includes illegal immigrants. You're fighting for air to fight for a system that literally. Why don't you think any other country does it our way? Why do they all do universal health care?
They all don't do universal.
Who doesn't?
Russia.
Russia does universal health care. China does universal health care.
No, they don't.
Yes, they both do. Look it up.
You need to go do your own research.
Look it up. I have, dude. This is maybe the one. You picked the worst possible topic to debate me on. This might be the thing I know the most about. Honest to God. Go look at their public insurance program.
I just can't believe that you let him slide telling your shushies.
That's all right. People can take it. They can borrow it. China's system is exactly what we would offer here. We would have basically universal healthcare. It would be multi-tiered, and you would have the option to buy private healthcare insurance on top of that, just like in China.
Car, I will save you the research. He is right on this, by the way, with Russia and China.
That's
the World Atlas.
Shut up, Admir. Shut up, Admir. We're not going there.
The World Atlas says otherwise.
What is the World Atlas?
Well, with China, it's kind of like a split system, but it's still, there is free service, basic service that are offered. You still have the chance to get free health care. I would move on from this, Vescar.
And I don't advocate copying China's system either. I like Medicare for All. It covers all these bases. It's great.
But Russia does have free healthcare. I would move on from it.
I was going off of worldatlas.com. That's where I get my information from because it is
you don't get your information.
Okay, thanks for letting me. Okay, I'm glad that conversations can happen without ridicule.
Best car. Look up OMI.
You said OMI?
Yes. I'm telling you, just move on.
Okay, so my point with the universal healthcare is that the point is that there's other things that people can do in our country to be able to get healthcare. Okay, they can enlist, they can get jobs. We live in a world where technology is so advanced that even paraplegics can maintain jobs. So there's no excuse to sit at home and not do anything.
Yeah, there is some people who can't work.
I do think.
Hold on, you said there's no reason why somebody should sit at home. None. That's what you said. No.
I said there is no reason that somebody should sit at home and not work.
Okay, you don't think that they're yeah.
Okay, give me. If a quadriplegic can sit there and use a computer, why can't they answer phone calls and do sales or debt collection or all these other things?
It's not about whether they can or can't. A lot of those people do work. But it's also incredible. I don't know if you know, I have two friends who got in a horrific car accident and are quadriplegics. Do you know how expensive it is? Do you think that they are on their employer's health care, or do you think that they get government benefits to pay for their health insurance?
I don't know your friend. I don't know your friends, so I can't.
No, I'm saying in general. Do you think a quadriplegic generally is going to go work like a sales job, and the insurance that they have with that job is going to pay for their medical bills? No, of course not.
But what I'm saying is there is opportunity.
Yeah, but they won't have insurance. Brother,
So
you're going to such great lengths just to like not admit that everybody else is doing healthcare this way, that it works all around the world. We have one of the worst healthcare systems and we're one of the most expensive. I know this is what's so frustrating about this topic is it's so tied to the word socialism and so tied to the far left that it's almost impossible to get conservatives to just look at the data and make that decision. This is a no-brainer. Every other country does it. Everybody, and that's why all of their pharmaceuticals are generally 4 times less expensive than ours because they collectively bargain. They negotiate as one body, and they're not negotiating in tandem with the pharmaceutical companies. This is a win all the way across the board. There literally are no downsides compared to our current system to have Medicare for all. And the only reason we can't have it is because conservatives, myself included, my whole upbringing, I was told that socialism is bad. This is socialism, so it's bad. It's not. Our entire economy is a mixed economy. We have capitalism, we have socialism. When the police come to your house, that's socialism. In the same way that this would be socialism. It makes sense to do it this way because nobody should profit off of your health. Nobody should profit by just writing a check out to pay your doctor's bills. That it makes no sense that would exist.
The comment section wants to know if you use the VA best car.
no, I don't.
You should have better outcomes than private insurance.
I tried to use VA. Well,
I don't know if you know you muted yourself. I'm muted there.
You probably got a phone call, I would assume.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I just want to say how proud I am of Amanda. I remember when I met Amanda.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Wait, you could mute Admin? Admin, you got muted on your own channel.
Go ahead.
I don't know if he even knows.
What the fuck?
Listen, you're not talking shit about me. Nuh-uh. We ain't doing that. Go ahead. He doesn't know.
Jen, aren't you going to help me?
No.
Bad move, dog. Bad move. Yeah. Just let it happen. You just got to ride these out. You're not going to win with Jen.
That's bullshit.
You don't ask for Jen, and she'll make it worse. She'll mute you too. I'm probably gonna get muted.
No, she'll fucking kick me. Yeah, never mind.
There's a question that says, do you have health insurance through your employer?
Who's that addressed to?
Best Car.
Oh.
Does anybody know how you pin comments?
I can't pin them.
Yeah, that's true. Oh shit! He probably has a phone call or something that he had to go. Okay.
He just had to change his voter registration. He just messaged me. He said he can feel. He said he can feel the burn.
Ah shit! Wow.
Oh, are we empty in the box?
Yep.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I don't see anybody.
I mean, maybe you and Amanda could debate.
Nope. Not doing that.
On what?
It's y'all's night.
Listen, the only thing that I can debate Amanda on is how she's gonna mute me or kick me. So
this is true. At least he knows. Today's not the day either, Admir. That's all I got to tell you. Today is not the motherfucking day.
Should at least, let me know in advance.
I just did.
Oh, okay, cool, thanks.
All right.
Jay, what is, because I've been going off yesterday and today about the whole, quote unquote list.
Yeah.
I want to hear. So here's my little take on it. If the list doesn't exist, why is Maxwell in prison?
Well, because she trafficked girls to Jeffrey Epstein.
That would make her co-conspirator. God bless it, I can't pronounce.
Yeah, she was a trafficker. She was actually facilitating and like recruiting girls to come to Epstein. That's all she's been convicted of. She hasn't been convicted of like crimes involving other people. There was, if you want my honest to God truth, I don't think there's a list. But I do think that there's stuff that they're not showing us. And I think that it might have been Spencer that said it earlier. Or no, actually it was America guy who said that he thought like that there was perhaps the CIA, perhaps Mossad that had information that they didn't want to get out. I believe that. I think that that's probably true. I think there just probably wasn't actually a list. And all of these people like Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they've been talking about it forever. And Republicans have been speaking about this list as if it exists for like 9 years. I don't think there is one. But if there was one, let's just say there was, it's interesting that under Trump, that's when Epstein disappeared. And then they lost that 10 hours of footage. And then when Biden was in office, they're like, hey, but why isn't Biden finding this 10 hours of footage? And then Trump gets back in office and suddenly they have that 10 hours of footage. It just showed back up. They figured it out. And there's a minute missing. And I mean, Pam Bondi was pretty tied to this case. She was tied to the Florida prosecution of Epstein. So I don't know. I think if you're going to point fingers, if you want to do a conspiracy, it baffles me that Republicans aren't like, oh, it's like the most obvious answer is that Donald Trump is implicated. That's every arrow points in that direction if you're going to be conspiratorial.
Yeah, I mean, and I was listening to, I hate saying his name, but, and it kind of drew me in because I got a text saying, hey, come in here.
Can you guys hear Admir? I can't hear Admir.
What?
Can you guys hear him?
Unfortunately, yes, and very loud. Now I can't hear anybody.
What do you mean, unfortunately, yes?
There he is.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, very loud and clear.
Oh, okay. No, so I got a text saying, hey, come in here and listen to this. Even though I don't like his ass and all that, but even OM came out today and said, this is bullshit. We need to go after this administration. And when he comes out and says that, I was like, oh, you can't be serious. My personal opinion is if I'm reading this letter that Pam Bondi wrote to Kash Patel, and the first paragraph says, I have this contact list, I have all of that. Why haven't you released it? I don't want to see the victims. That's not my interest. That I don't care about. I want to know who was on that island who was ordering these horrific things.
Look, I actually think that's part of the story that like somehow has been completely skewed. Almost all of this abuse, there was certainly stuff on the island, and there are people that have testified about the abuse on the island. But like most of the trafficking young girls, like these happened in the neighborhoods where he lived. This happened in West Palm Beach. It happened in New York. And then he would also fly people back and forth to his spot it was like outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so when all these people are saying like, oh, they flew on the plane to the island, like basically everything he's been convicted of happened here. And most of it happened in West Palm Beach. But during that time, when all of these things happened, there are multiple records of him going to parties with underage girls with Trump, like pageants with Trump. They ran like a fashion show on this yacht where all the people doing the fashion show were like, late, 16, 17, 18, 19, and all the people there were just grown men. All the people watching were grown men. I mean, they were doing a lot of weird shit together that involved underage girls. And it is unbelievable that MAGA has avoided the Trump connection. Like, because that's the most obvious connection. If there is a conspiracy, the most obvious one is Trump. There's so much evidence to back it all up. And then they're like, no, it's only Clinton. And their evidence for Clinton is that like he was on the plane and Epstein had a painting of him, which isn't a picture. It's not a video. It's a painting. Anybody could do that painting. And I still think Bill Clinton is capable of doing all those things. wouldn't be surprised if he was guilty. But the most evidence that anybody has on them is certainly Trump, of all the famous people.
Yeah, man, it isn't what I thought it was gonna be. And I'm sick and tired of hoping. I'm sick and tired of when they say, well, why didn't Biden release it? Why didn't Obama release it? I really don't give a shit why they didn't release it. I just want the shit to be released. I want people to go to prison. I want justice for the lady who just took her own life because she went through all of this stuff. And you know what I mean? This shit is just fucked up, man.
I think you know this from your own experience, but like once you see like an obvious lie that this administration tells you, like once you see it, you have to question a whole bunch of other things. You have to start questioning all the times you believed this administration when they said, just trust us. And so this is going to cause an issue for Republicans, because if you are willing to say that you maybe this administration's lying, go back. I would challenge every Republican. Now go back and watch their confirmation hearings. Now that you recognize what it looks like when they're obviously lying, go back and watch their confirmation hearings and watch them dodge question after question after question. And if you just using a trained eye that now you know what they look like when they're lying, you know what they do when they avoid answers and their tactics, go rewatch those confirmation hearings, and you're going to see real quick that these are not honest people. And that's the problem that Republicans are going to have now, is that there's a crack there. And Donald Trump surrounded himself with like a lot of people who said a lot of shit, like a lot of shit, a lot of crazy shit, and that's who's running the party now.
I don't know if you've seen the round table where it was him, Pam Bondi, and Marco Rubio today when that person asked, what about the client list, and he goes, so you guys still talking about this?
Yeah. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you guys released it yesterday, dog. Yeah, we're gonna still talk about it today.
Like this shit, oh, man. Listen, I was like, you cannot be serious. You can have two things that are horrible, and you can still take care of them. We understand what happened in Texas is horrific, but that doesn't negate the stuff that has already been happening for the last decade that you said that you were going to deal with, and all of a sudden you don't care. All of a sudden it's, you know what? You guys still talk about that dude? He's a loser. I don't care about him. Fuck, are you fucking serious?
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, Amanda. What's up, love? Long time no see. I hope you had a happy 4th.
You sure did. Go ahead, Admir. Good luck.
Hey, Jeremy. How you doing?
God is good all the time, Bubba. How you doing?
Amen.
Good, man. Good. I don't think I've ever spoken to you. Here. I don't think I ever spoke to you, man, but thank you for coming up. As you see the background, we have these debates with RTP and all that. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, me and Amanda will go on mute. You guys kind of started off, and if there's anything that you want to specifically talk, just take it off and ask many questions that you want and go from there.
Well, I've been in a lot of debates today, and I lost my studio and everything after Helene. And so I'm just now getting back on the TikTok forum, and the number one trend has to be the Steam list. And I gotta say, Trump is so damn smart. This is all gonna drop after the midterms. I truly believe that. I've listened to Dan Bongino. I've followed Kash Patel for years. It's chess, not checkers. So I know a lot of people are very upset over this Steam list and everything. And Elon's, I don't know if he's doing bath salts or whatever he's doing and getting all crazy. But I can tell everybody, if it don't be hating on Trump because of the Steam list. I'm telling you, this man's been playing these people from the very get-go. And I believe he's got to just win the midterms. He's just got to get the midterms. And after we get these midterms, Even if all we hold is one
Wait,
seat.
but you hold all. You already have the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the Supreme Court. What do you need in the midterms?
Well, we all know that the midterms always swing the opposite party, and Democrats have a lot of good seats that they could actually win over Republicans, because the Republicans right now.
Wait, what's gonna drop after the midterms?
Oh, he's going to drop it. You think Trump wants to drop the Epstein list before the midterms? No, that's a grand presidential election, bro. When we find out who all's on that list,
he's not running for president in the midterms.
It doesn't matter. Whoever, if he signs off on DeSantis, JD, which I believe.
The president isn't running for re-election in the midterms.
It doesn't matter. What we have is probably the card. Because let me tell you something. If Trump was on that Epstein list, do you think that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and that auto pen wouldn't have signed that shit over? Yeah.
I don't think there's a list. I don't think there's a list.
That Epstein list, they would have done it millions of years
ago. So real quick, let me just ask you, make sure we're clear on this. So you said you followed Kash Patel and Dan Bongino for years. So in those years, and they've been talking about the fact that this list existed. And now both Dan Bongino and Kash are telling the American people that there is no list. What you're saying is they're lying to us for a game of 4D chess. Is that correct?
Wouldn't put it past them. Don't know if you know this.
Wait,
but
hold on.
So
wait, real quick. Hold on, brother,
and he was going to be in a wheelchair. So we know 4D chess because we saw it the last 4 years. Yeah, we know 4D chess.
So why? All right. So the 4D chess.
Joe Biden was going to be the next president. He was the most popular president over Obama.
Hey.
Let's go.
You gotta stop.
Let's go.
You gotta stop talking, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll slow down.
Okay. Just when I talk, maybe you could stop talking.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll take turns.
Let's do it.
Let's try and have like a discussion rather than a monologue.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So what you're saying is that you're comfortable right now that the government is lying to the American people because you trust there's like this plan to, and you don't mind that they're holding on to this evidence in order to win an election. You're cool with that type of, you're like, oh yeah, we'll hold on to it, so we'll hold our political cards. So you're cool with the government lying to us for a while to make sure they win the midterms. Is that what you're saying?
I'm as happy as you were when.
Oh Lord! No! Just answer the question. You don't know when I've been happy. Please answer the question.
Officers said that Joe Biden's son's laptop was Russian disinformation. You didn't care about it then, so why do you care about it now? You were so happy when 50 intel people said that it was Russian disinformation, that Hunter Biden laptop was fake. You didn't care then, did you? You didn't care then. Don't shush me, bro. That's disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. It's disrespectful.
When you sit there and
brother,
say,
I thought we were going to have a conversation. What is going on?
50 intel officers.
Hey, thank you. Good Lord.
And listen, I'm sorry, Amanda. I'm sorry. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
I think this is why Trump's in trouble. Anybody reasonable tonight's like, I'm not going out there. I'm not talking about this shit.
I mean, I'm like, what do you say? Center Pioli? You missed the whole just monologuing?
I did. I'm taking care of 4 kids tonight.
Oh, okay.
That's why now he's just hitting us with all the catchphrases. You guys are canceling us. This is why you lost. You're right, brother.
That's awesome.
I just want to go on the record that's 100% why we kicked you, because we were afraid we were going to lose again. It was not because of your incoherent rambling. It was definitely something else. We're just nervous about everybody finding out about 4D chess.
What the fuck, man?
I don't know. Honestly, like, that's kind of the mental gymnastics you currently have to go through to like make it make sense. That's the best explanation I've heard. as to why there's all this, especially from those who still think there's a list. Like, imagine being that person who's absolutely certain that there's a list, also absolutely certain that Trump is the good guy. And so you're like, fuck, I got to invent some shit here. I'm going to invent a scenario where he's holding on to it for some reason after the midterms, which doesn't make sense. It seems like you would drop that before the midterms so that those people don't win their elections. So I thought that was weird timing. Just like,
Yeah, I don't.
I guess that's part of the 4D chess I don't understand, though. Maybe I just don't understand 4D chess.
This is just, man. It's like every excuse in the book. Every excuse.
I didn't know any of those were in the book. I had no idea that those were in the book. I didn't know those excuses were.
Well, obviously you haven't read the MAGA book, so.
What do you mean looked at the pictures? I have not looked at the pictures.
Well, yeah, you read a picture, right?
It's the same
Wink,
thing.
wink.
It's the same thing.
No, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, it would be much easier to say, okay, you know what, we were bamboozled. We need to hold this. We need to hold this. We need to hold them accountable, and let's move on. Instead, no, there's no list. He didn't say this. He's not on the list.
Well, what do you think?
Man.
Do you think there's a list?
I think there is. I think there is a. I don't want to say. Yeah, actually, yeah. There has to be a list, and here's why. There has to be a list because if you watched the Netflix on Jeffrey Epstein, if you read any of his cases, there's no way that all of these co-conspirators would be coming out, and for there to not to be a list. Now, some might say, well, if there is a list, why didn't he just give up and maybe he wouldn't have gotten any prison time? And same thing with Maxwell. I mean, you're not dealing with little peons. You're dealing with people that are way above even our government. So it's like double-edged sword. Like,
Doesn't it seem like you wouldn't like keep a list of that though? It's weird. The part of me is like he's somehow like escaped. He was so smart that he was able to escape people knowing, people catching him. He's able to escape prosecution, but also was like dumb enough to keep a list. I think what they're saying. I don't think it's about the list. I think that there's a bunch of stuff in the unredacted documents, and there's a bunch of documents that they aren't going to release. So they're talking about the list. I think what's his name was on Sager was on with Tucker Carlson, and that's what basically they were saying. It's just like this. I don't think there's a list. I just think that there's. But even if there is a list, we want to see all the stuff. Why aren't you releasing all the? She said there was a truckload of documents. How could you have and then she's like, oh, they were all videos. I don't think so. I think that you guys were very specific. Cash was pretty specific about we've read through everything. We read through all these documents, and now they're like, oh, what documents? It's just a video and a list.
I mean, I hope this doesn't. I'm not a theorist. I'm not a conspirator. But I just find it very interesting that you have Elon and Musk kind of run together. They separate. Elon claims he's on the list. We were told that we were going to get files, let's say. All of a sudden, now there is no list. Yeah, I just find it very interesting.
It's also interesting that Elon said that. I don't think that part should be overlooked. He's either trolling and he knows that's going to get to him. I don't know. I thought that was crazy that Elon went there. Even for Elon, it's almost hard for me to believe that Elon doesn't legitimately, at the very least, think that. Or like somebody's told him that. But I don't think Elon's seen any of this stuff either.
I mean, when you're in that stature as Elon, for you to make a claim like that, that's not going to go over easy. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, take it for what it's worth, but I just find it very, very interesting that, you know, this shit happens and all of a sudden, oh, there's no list. You know, all of a sudden, that dude did not unalive himself, but you're admitting that there is over a minute of that tape, you admitted that there's 2 guards that were charged of, supposedly sleeping in the most secured facility in New York. I don't know. I just find it very interesting.
I also think it's probably most likely that, I mean, if somebody facing the types of charges in the public court case he was going to face, it's not unusual for people in that position to want to end it,
I mean, it's not, but I mean, and I talked to a friend of mine today, and I did not know this, but I know his brother hired a world-renowned pathologist. Now, I did not know that this
Whose brother?
specific
Epstein's
pathologist. Yeah, he hired the same pathologist that did the Floyd examination.
Sure. I don't know who that is, but yeah, sure.
I can't remember her name. God bless her. She's like really famous. I just can't remember her name. It'll get to me. But she said that the trachea just doesn't break by you getting a noose around you. And so it's like, okay, so if a pathologist who's been doing this for 50 years has come out and said, in all of my years of doing the unaliving cases, I've never seen a case where the trachea breaks. It's like, okay, so what is really going on? It's just, this whole thing is just all messed up. Just doesn't add up at all,
I don't know anything about any of that. I never really followed it. I didn't think it was, I don't know, I just don't chase conspiracy theories normally like that, especially when I don't think there's going to be answers at the end, which turns out, no answers.
Yes, Michael Baden. Thank you, Dr. Baden. Thank you. Yeah, Dr. Baden. But I wanted to ask you, because, until we get another person, I know you read this bill, and I'm interested in 2 points. I'm not interested in all the other ones.
For the record, I did not read the entire bill. I've just researched the bill, so there could very well be things I don't know that are in that bill.
Okay. Have you researched by any chance as far as the overtime and the no tax on tips?
Yeah, over time there's like an individual cap of up to 150,000, and then the no tax on tips, I believe, is capped at 25,000, and then there's another. If you file like jointly, I think it goes to like 250,000 and 50,000 or something like that.
Okay, so essentially, throughout the year, you're still going to be paying taxes, like as you were.
Yep.
And it's just an exemption
rebate.
a rebate at the end of the year if you qualify.
Yep.
So let me understand.
Not a rebate, I guess. Yeah, tax credit, not a rebate.
Yeah. So let me understand this. So this doesn't go into effect till 2026, and it's only lasting through 2028.
Yeah, what they're going to do is it was smart how they did it. Those tax cuts are going to get extended, but they made them in the next presidential election year. And that way, if it's J.D. Vance, he gets to go out and say, the Democrats want to take away this tax credit from you or this tax break from you. But we gave this to you. Remember, we did this for you. And now if I don't get elected, then Democrats are going to take this away, which they won't campaign on, but it won't fucking matter because that's still what Republicans will say. Democrats will probably campaign on like extending those tax credits, but increasing taxes on rich people. And then Republicans will lie, and we'll see if America has learned any lessons about being lied to.
But I mean, if you break it down, if you look at the bill and all that, the middle class is only getting about 2% tax break overall when you take everything into consideration, while the rich are getting 14% permanently.
Yeah, it's pretty insignificant, the tax break that the middle class is going to get. It's not going to keep up with inflation. It's not enough to keep up with inflation. At the end of this year, you'll have less money than you did at the end of last year, unless you had like a significant change in your income. Plus, you're going to be paying increased prices if this tariff shit keeps going. Like groceries will be more expensive. Clothes will be more expensive. The amount of stuff they announced today, like from Myanmar, Japan, South Korea, I think was it maybe Morocco. They announced a bunch of places today that make a lot or import a lot of things to the United States. So that's on top of prices going up. I've yet to meet a Republican who can explain to me how this is going to work. They all say the same thing. They say tariffs are going to bring back American manufacturing jobs. Tariffs are going to raise a lot of revenue. Where's the evidence that that's going to happen? We're not seeing manufacturing jobs flooding back right now. And people are paying more for goods.
Somebody for you.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, okay. It's a big dog? Am I reading that right? Big dog, how you doing? Big dog, you know you up here?
No, it must have been I fell asleep. I must have. I don't know why I had.
Good morning.
You can,
Oh, okay. Oh, all right, cool. No problem. I man, this is, shoot. It's so bizarre. I don't even know what to say. I really don't.
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you?
No, I'm talking about as far as the whole the tariffs and all that. It's just
Yeah, dude. This is just this is late stage capitalism. I was talking to a friend because he asked me about the Elon party. A lot of people think that a lot of my Republican friends seem to think that Elon launching this party will grab a bunch of people from both sides, and I just don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, I just don't think that there's anybody on this side of the aisle at all that would line up to work with Elon. I don't think he represents anybody on this side. Like, his views are pretty far right. I don't think he's going to grab from Democrats. But I think we're at the stage right now where legitimately what the Republicans are telling you, there's 50 years of data that says it's wrong. They literally are telling you that this is going to cut deficits, and their own math says that it's going to increase deficits. They don't pay for any of these tax cuts. Trump's going to go back on a lot of these things to make sure that they don't lose the midterms, or he's going to try. And we're going to be back here where we're going to cut all these taxes. We're never going to pay for it with spending cuts. We're going to have deficits, boom. And I see no evidence at all that says things will get better.
I'm convinced y'all don't look at the panel. FYI, there's somebody new up here.
Oh, I never look at the panel, sorry.
I'd assume that you and Admir just don't look at your phones at this point. Somebody up here.
Feeling judged.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's not fair. What is it?
Oh, shit, what's up, buddy?
What's up, J-Dog?
Oh, God, okay.
You're not very liked in the comment section. What's wrong with you?
How could they not like Hoodie? How could they not?
They're going off.
He's never done anything to make people mad.
Those are just my biggest fans, that's all.
What's up, dude?
Oh, I'm just stirring it up as usual. Yourself?
Just trying to convince you guys that Trump's an idiot, but it's tough. It's tough
I mean, you've been working so hard, and, you know, you should have some type of rewards for all that hard work.
I got Admir.
What?
What?
Well, did he vote for Trump, or did he change his mind afterwards?
I don't remember. Did you vote for Trump?
Yeah, I voted for Trump.
See? You didn't get him.
I got him for the midterms, though. We're ready, and I got him for the next one. We were a little late on it.
Well, listen, okay. I mean, I'll be open about it. Bernie Sanders all day.
Oh my goodness!
Take that, Hoodie.
I heard he had a bad experience on the Rogan.
I don't know. I haven't watched it, but I did. All my friends that are Republicans said that they really liked him.
They liked it?
They liked Bernie. They all said the same thing. They're like, I'm not sure on his policies, but I really like him. They all thought he came off really well. I don't think that they necessarily agree with him. But I think they liked him.
Well, behind any mega supporter, there's maybe just a little bit of Bernie bro in there,
Yeah, that decency thing when we're like, you know what, we really could kind of help everybody out instead of just have this fucking casino of of an economy. We could really try and make more sense of this, but fuck it, let's roll the dice.
Well, the House has to get their cut, Jay. Come on.
That's right. They're getting their cut. Nobody's getting a bigger cut than Don. How do you feel about that?
Well, they don't
40% of his net worth he's got since he took office.
They don't call him Con the Don for nothing, man. Come on.
They don't. I appreciate
He's earned that.
He's earned
That's right.
That's right. He's earned the ability to scam the American people.
Yeah. Nothing says let's build small homes in Jersey to then becoming the president of the United States. That is a life of accomplishment, Jay.
It's tough. I can't believe he inherited $300 million and failed his way to the presidency. It's incredible. Who could have seen it coming? What a tough life he's lived. Who could have made it when they were gifted $300 million?
Jay, nothing screams the American dream by screwing over all of your creditors and filing bankruptcy and then being able to come back and do it all over again.
That's right. That's the American dream.
Yeah.
Fuck them and then come back and fuck them again.
Yeah. Well, obviously they didn't learn their lesson the first time, Jay. So
now the banks aren't working. The banks tried to warn us. They're like, "Don't do business with this guy. We're telling you, you should not do any business with." None of us are doing business with him. And the American people said, "Nah, we're going to do it anyways."
But they couldn't resist the tempestuous persuasion of the Russian investment into Deutsche Bank, bro.
That's right. Wait, yeah, those American patriots love that. I don't support a president unless has co-signers in Russia.
Well, Jay, it takes all kinds to make a village now.
It's true. It's true. I don't like this village. Can we get a different leader? I don't like this one.
Well, at least
they're running everybody out of our village. All my friends.
At least this one takes a little bit of instructions, like exit stage right, instead of left, and then the confusion part happens, and then it's just a real big mess.
I'll take that. I'll take a guy who doesn't know which stage to exit over this guy.
Well, I kind of have my own theory, Jay, on what's going on.
What do you got?
I do.
What is it?
So, it's the two things can be true at the same time. And I believe, this is just my take, right? That the reason why we're renegotiating our contracts around the world is because...
Talking about trade deals?
Yes, the international trade deals is because we're moving away from the corporate entity creation that runs simultaneously along the constitutional republic.
So we're trying to starve the oligarchy. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're transitioning away from the corporate fiction entity, going into asset-based financial system.
Where like 8 people are going to have all the assets?
Well, no, think about it. So right now, the Federal Reserve has gold at $42 an ounce.
Okay.
That's just fantasy world. That's what is it, like 28? Somewhere between 28 and $3,000 right now?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's up there. So, if we're going to continue to live in this, fantasy of make-believe on the value of the dollar based on only what you view it as it's worth.
So you're talking about trying to devalue the dollar is what you're trying to say?
Oh, yep.
How does that how does that fix the problem that we're in?
Historically, when you look at the financial institutions over centuries, there's always been jubilees because the system can't work without them, right?
I don't know. What's a jubilee? What's that?
Debt forgiveness.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And even Jesus, everyone's...
Jesus.
Yeah, no, he did.
I hear you. I just wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for that.
I went all in with that one, But this jubilee. At some point in time, when you have a debt-based system, everyone gets loaded up with debt, and there becomes no mobility. And that's pretty much where I think we're at right now. No mobility. Nobody has the money.
Yeah, so why don't So wait, so I understand that because I actually agree with you. I think that you and I operate that we're in the same place. My solution is to force the money to circulate, and what that will do is kind of the same thing. We absolutely have an economic bubble, and that especially a venture capital bubble. The venture capitalism is all phony. It's all fake wealth. It doesn't make any. It makes no fucking sense. And I think that I do think you're right. I think that this is the attempt, and I think this is what weirdly I find myself agreeing with you here. But I think what we're seeing is a preparation of the bailouts like we saw from the banks. The richest people among us, and the reason Scott Besson is up there, and the reason all these rich people are giving money to Trump is they're the ones that are going to need the bailout. They're the ones that are about to lose everything. And so they're aligning themselves with Trump. They're filling his pockets. He's getting trade deals all over the world. I think the Saudis are involved in trying to move this wealth around as well. And I think that they're just prepping themselves so that they come out of this unscathed. And I think that that's just the reality that we're in. Donald Trump is helping the elites in this country prepare themselves for the inevitable crash that we're about to have due to hyper inflated valuations, specifically by venture capitalists, and we're going to pay for it. And those people are going to come out on top, and we're going to come out with more debt. And I do believe that they're trying to devalue the dollar and drop these rates because they know they're about to sell a bunch of debt, and they want those rates to be at the lowest rate possible. So I agree with you, but I don't like the fact that I hope Republicans are listening. That's exactly what they're doing. They're selling you out to billionaires who fucked our economy.
Well, it's the end of the Bretton Woods agreement for sure. I mean, we're not going to have the world currency status. All trades are going to be done. I don't know if you heard about this or not, but all trades are going to be done in their own country's currency. Did you hear that?
Who announced that? I don't know who's in. I've heard people say that. I heard that that's like kind of their strategy, but I haven't heard any announcement on that.
Yeah, like the dinar, specifically also the...
who announced that?
Well, I mean, in certain circles, it's well known.
Are you talking about brick? Are you talking about BRICS?
No, I'm talking about the tier 4, the 2000 or the 222 guidelines, tier 4 banking, like Xterra, like.
Hey, are we debating? Is there someone in request that I think is a debate?
Yeah, let me hear this. I just want to hear what he's saying because then I'll look into this, and Hoodie, we can talk about it again real quick because I'm just not sure what you're saying, but I'm interested in this because I think that Scott Besson has done a really bad job of explaining this. I think you and him share the same idea, but for whatever reason they're not talking about it. So
sure. So right. So it's part of the reset. And it has to do with like the Genius Act and the stable coin and the issue with crypto right now is it's sketchy, like way too many scammers. It depends on how many people are in and who's holding the most and all of these like janky people are involved, right? So when you look at the Genius Act and the stable coin, there's actually going to be different wallets involved. For example, like Bank of America.
Can we put this more simply? I think if we can put that more simply, you're going to take the tier 4, which is the bankers who have they have most of the assets. And we're basically saying that the exit strategy there is going to be to devalue the dollar, but we're going to give these banks exit strategy with different wallets, different type of coins that allows them basically to be able to transfer some wealth while we crash the dollar, right?
Yeah, but
so a giant bailout, a giant fuck you to everybody but the elite.
But the idea here is to go asset based and get rid of this, fractional banking phantasm of something from nothing. That's over, right?
No, I think that's probably their plan. I agree with you. I think that's crazy that any American would support that, but I do agree with you that sounds like their plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the question is how rocky of a ride is it going to be at launch, and how many people are going to get hurt?
Well, we're going to try and beat you guys in the midterms and then in the election, and we're going to try and reverse this course because I think there's the much easier solution is just to tax people appropriately, and you're going to have to tax people the richest at around like 70%. So it's going to be hell to get there, but especially if this keeps happening and they can't explain that, and eventually the Scott Bessent has to come out and explain what their plan is, and it's this plan, I think that Americans are going to largely reject that, and we'll be able to tax rich people accordingly. I love that. I keep fighting that good fight. Keep getting the information out there. I want it out there.
Hey, I know that you are the utopia guy, and
That's right, baby. World peace.
In an absolutist world perspective, I'm right there with you. But I mean, ultimately, I see it as actually what allows people to be free. I still hold and will always hold the libertarian position that it has never been the people's responsibility to fund the federal government.
All right. Well, I hope I win and you lose, but I'll save you a room at the guest house. If you win, you got to save me a room at your guest house.
It's because y'all don't watch the panel. Somebody dropped him already.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
Ben was already on it. There you go. There's somebody new on here. Go ahead.
Well, good evening, Lotus. How you doing, man?
Yeah, what's up? How's it going, guys?
Good. So I seen your comment. You say you're gonna dog walk RTP?
Did I say I was going to dog walk?
I could use some cardio. I like that.
Oh.
I'm gonna cook them up like a breakfast burrito. Late night snack.
Oh, okay. Well,
bro, you eating
rules are
breakfast
simple.
burritos for a late night snack? That's going to cause problems when your metabolism slows down.
Yeah, live and let live, man.
So rules are very simple. You guys pick a topic, go at it. Try not to interrupt one another too much. If you guys go overboard, I come in and I shut it down. Fair enough?
Sounds fair.
All right, you pick a topic. Let's go.
Oh, do I get to pick the topic? Oh, hell yeah! All right, man. I think that undisputed Donald Trump and the Republican agenda is better for the economy than the alternative. So that's what I want to debate.
I dispute that.
Okay. So I guess it is disputed now. So
Yeah, it's no longer undisputed. Yeah.
What's your dispute?
What do you mean by the alternative? I guess I'm not sure.
Yeah, I here's what I think. I mean, look, I think that there's merits to supply side economics, but I think that generally the protectionist trade policy of the Trump administration, paired with their tax cuts, I think is actually a good driver of GDP growth, and I think that's better for the economy than the overregulation and the approach of, let's say, the Biden administration, probably what would have been the Kamala administration on their approach of trying to incentivize manufacturing in the United States was not nearly as effective and cost the taxpayers more. So I think just in general, like the way Trump goes about it is better.
Okay, so I guess there's two ways we could go there. Talking about supply side economics, do you believe that that's what we're doing is supply side economics?
Yeah, I think so. I think it falls kind of under that same general. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I would argue that like most of what we do, like our biggest export now is services, and I don't think services really operate in a free market. I don't think it really is like supply and demand. I think it's a very limited access market. If you're going to sell services, you have to have extraordinary amounts of capital, or your idea has to be so good that you got in front of somebody's eyes and you're like that unicorn. But I think most of the services industries largely are just like startups that were founded by somebody who exited another startup. And I think it really has inflated the value. My question is, we have $37 trillion in debt. You said that tax cuts, you believe, with supply side economics will fuel the growth. Could you show me a time when like GDP growth was higher than normal when we gave tax breaks, like for an extended period of time?
Show you a time that GDP growth was higher than normal when we gave tax breaks.
Yeah, because my contention is that tax breaks do not foster greater GDP growth, and I would base that on the Reagan tax cuts, followed by the Bush tax cuts and the Trump tax cuts. Trump didn't ever outperform Obama in GDP ever, At no point, Obama was over 4% in GDP multiple times. Trump never got above 4%.
Are you talking about an annual GDP growth?
I think that was I'll have to check. I think it's quarterly. I just stepped away from my computer. I can go check, but I think it's quarterly. He had 4. I don't think he ever had annualized 4% GDP, but quarterly he had multiple quarters over 4%.
Look. My understanding is that Obama and Trump were generally about the same when you look at the average annual GDP growth.
Yeah, so
obviously,
so that wouldn't really add to the argument that that tax cuts fuel GDP growth. Like even if they're the same, it didn't fuel GDP growth, right?
Well, I just don't. Sure, that's true, but also there's a problem when we talk about GDP growth in C19 that affected the last year of Trump's administration. But so
from 2018 to 2019 before COVID hit, did GDP go up or down?
Yeah, he had increased GDP growth over the first 2 years of his administration, before C19 hit, after the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed. And then there was significant increase in GDP
wait, hold on.
under
the question
Reagan.
I asked was from 18 to 19 before COVID hit. Was GDP higher in 18 or was it higher in 19?
I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
It was higher in 18. In fact, if you Googled right now, 2019, economists warn of recession. Most economists in this country were warning that we were headed towards a recession. We were seeing slower GDP growth, wage growth had flatlined, even job growth had flatlined before COVID. It's probably my contention that COVID saved Donald Trump's reputation because we were in trouble before COVID even hit.
I disagree with that. We had what was unemployment at?
Well,
it was at the time a record low.
Yeah, record low unemployment. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have a strong economy, right?
Okay, did we experience wage inflation under Trump?
Did wages go up? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yeah, wage inflation. Yes.
Yeah, but they didn't keep up with inflation.
They did. They actually they kept up significantly. They surpassed real inflation by like 6% over his term.
Yeah, only if you include if you take the number and you average it out among everybody. But if you take the middle class and you take the poor, their wages did not keep up with inflation. The only way to get that number to look like it kept up with inflation is if you're including the top earners, which is where all the benefits went to. But middle class and poor Americans, their wage increases did not keep up with inflation.
I don't think that's the case. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure there's a graph that Fred has on hourly wage workers, and there was a fairly significant increase under Trump. But I'd have to find that.
I agree with you, but that's only if you include all wage earners. If you take out the top wage earners, and you just take the people that actually fall within the middle class and poor, then that number is significantly lower. The number that you're looking at, and this is a trick that Republicans always do. As a former Republican who worked for the party, I can tell you this is what we do. We take the total number, and then we apply that and say the average American saved this much. But that doesn't really mean like the average American. It means the Americans on average. The average American doesn't save nearly as much as the Republicans always say, because they take everybody's tax cuts or everybody's wage growth and they compile it. But when you cycle that out, when you factor that out, it was nowhere close to keeping up with inflation. You know that because of the amount.
I'm talking about actual real wage growth, not necessarily the tax cuts. I mean, the tax cuts is a separate argument in of itself, where I think the Democrats have been blatantly spreading falsehoods about the benefits of the tax cuts to working middle class by trying to demonize tax cuts to higher tax brackets and corporate tax cuts that occurred at the time.
Are you sure that Republicans aren't just lying about that number and then
I'm sure.
saying that
I've seen the IRS
I think we're being honest. When we pull the numbers, we're pulling the actual numbers from the middle class. The numbers Republicans are putting out there include everybody. And so if you want to look at the average effect on the middle class, you wouldn't keep in the wages of the poor, and you wouldn't keep the wages in of the wealthy. You would just look at people that fall within that middle class income bracket. And if you pull that research, and if you look at the average tax break for people in the middle brackets, you'll see that it's not nearly the number Republicans claim.
Yeah,
so why
it
is
is
the
actually, and I have it pulled
number
up in front of me.
Okay, so where are you? What website? I'll pull it up with you.
Sure. So and I'll give you the path to get to it because it's a table that's pulled out from
Sure.
the U.S. Internal Revenue Service SOI tax stats. And if you would like, I could either share. I'll help you get there, and we can look at it
Yeah,
together.
just help me get there. That's
So you just need to type in to Google IRS data proves Trump tax cuts benefited middle working class Americans. Something
IRS
like
tax
that.
data proves Trump's tax cuts benefited middle class America. Are you talking about TCJA? I guess, yeah, if you're getting
Yeah,
data,
that's
this would
true.
be from TCJA.
Which, by
right?
the way, when I talk about those tax cuts, obviously I am supporting the current bill, which are making those tax cuts permanent. So I'm in support of the tax cuts and in support of the extension of the tax cuts, obviously. So,
Okay. Now are you at, did you go to the ussenate.gov when you search that?
no, you should. There's actually an article. It's on the Hill, but
Okay.
there's an extra couple steps after you get to it. So once you get there, let me
Okay,
know.
I'm there.
Okay, you scroll down into there's the third or fourth
A careful
paragraph.
analysis of the IRS data.
Yeah, click on that, and then it'll open it up, and then click on the IRS data button, and it will pull it up, and then scroll down to the third page, and it gives you the table.
You said page 3. So this is the table 1?
Yeah, table 1, the effects of the 2017 tax reform law on personal income tax revenues. So this is kind of I think the truth of the tax cuts, where obviously you can spin a narrative by talking about nominal reductions in your tax burden.
Yeah, so
I think
go to-
percentage base is the most important.
So go to the fourth or the second to last column, right? That's the percent change in number of filers, right? That's number of filers.
That's the
sorry.
number.
Average income
if
tax.
you look at the last column, it's percent change in average taxes paid by each filer class. So if you look at if this table clearly shows that if you made between 30 to 50,000, you got, like an 18% reduction in your total tax burden, right? Whereas if you made, 5 to 10 million, you only got a 3.5% reduction in your tax burden. So relatively a larger tax cut for the middle class, right?
Yeah, we're talking about, but these are the numbers that we're talking about, right? Because these are individuals. And these are, and look, when you go, you'll notice that when you get down to 10 million or above, their tax rate's lower. Even by your own table, the percentage of change is, if we're going to say middle class, which I think is 30,000 to, let's say, 75,000, you have 18%, 18%, 17%, 15%. We get down to these people at 10 million or more. We understand that these are personal income tax revenues, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so this doesn't include everything that they've been able to write off, right? This is just tax returns.
No, just to be clear though, this is the actual. They took the tax returns from the 2017 year, and then they took the tax returns from the 2018 year, and they compared the
And it's
data
the
between the
percent
two.
change,
and
yeah.
they showed who got what cuts. So if you
average income tax paid by each filer in dollars. And where is this is coming from IRS SOI stats. What are SOI stats? Let me make sure I have that this is the right data. Oh, that link goes. Let me get
the link,
right
I think,
here.
the link is dead.
Did you copy and paste it? Oh,
It's been a while. This has been out for a long time, obviously.
now I'm a little concerned. The link that their source is.
No,
not
actually,
source?
it does work. It just you
I
have
just went to it. It does say.
Yeah, that's my bad. I think I might have just miscopied it.
The one that's IRS is SOI-tax-stats individual.
Yeah.
It's telling me that this page not found.
Oh, I just pulled it up.
What the hell? How did that happen? Whoops. Shit, I just left that.
So just to be clear, though, I mean, are you arguing the validity of the data, or
I'm concerned. So I've seen different data than this. I'm a little concerned about. I'm not sure what exactly the SOI tax stats are, and that'll give me an idea of what they're polling from. I don't know if they're polling. If they're even pulling this data correctly. I'm concerned. My biggest concern is that if you look all over this Trump tax cuts policy paper, this is put out by the Heartland Institute, who, if they're notorious for anything, it's lying. And they
SOI stands for sources of
and they
income.
regularly put in bad sources. And that's what I'm saying. It concerns me that this source that they're giving is a dead link.
Well, I just pulled it up, and as a matter of fact, I can scroll through here. I'll share my screen just to verify. This is the link that it opened for me.
I mean, really give him the big screen.
This is the link that it opened up.
What year is that from? Can you scroll down what year that's from?
They've got tables from tax years from 96 to 2022.
That is crazy.
They've got multiple different.
Did you click on a link or did you copy and paste?
I control clicked the link from the
one that's on the bottom of page 3.
Yeah, right here.
Right here. You'll see that. Let me see if I can.
Just did it again. So I don't know. It could be a browser thing. I thought it was dead too, so maybe it's a browser problem or something. I don't know.
Okay, and we're looking at what, 2021 for this?
No, this is actually
20 to 18.
this is showing the effects of the tax cut when it went into effect comparing 2017 filers to 2018 filers, right? Which I know there can be some nuance in some credits and deductions may have expired over the past 8 years, but regardless, I mean, I think it tells the story, right?
Maybe. That's why I'm trying to figure out what they're factoring in here. I don't know what they're doing. Adjusted gross income here.
Yeah.
Which is your total income from all sources before deductions are taken. So this would be wages, salaries, tips, interest and dividends, business income, capital gains, rental income, retirement income, Social Security benefits, other forms of taxable income. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that, for example, like Elon. One of the ways that Elon's able to dodge these taxes, and I think that this is why why this doesn't factor everything in. Like Elon's able to use his stocks and leverage his stocks for 0% loans and live off of 0% loans, making him look like he's making $10,000 a year. So I think that when you factor in the gains.
Well, I mean, regardless of that though, that's not taxable dollars before the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act or after. So
that's the point.
And no legislation has been passed by Democrats in order to change that. I guess there was the floated idea of taxing unrealized gains.
I'm not a Democrat though. Just so we're clear, I'm not a Democrat, and I think that
but
Joe Biden lived under Trump's tax policy.
Well, that is true, but however, Congress certainly could have amended it, changed it, done.
I agree. They should have. There's too many people that don't give a shit. They're all bought and paid for by these same billionaires. So you have all the problem. The problem in looking at these numbers is that when you factor out people's massive increases in net worth and their ability to use so if you take their net worth and you say what could their taxable income be if we didn't give them a loophole so they didn't have to report any income, then those numbers change dramatically.
Well, sure.
Elon Musk's effective rate was 3%.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
there's
certainly tax havens,
right?
And ways for wealthy people to avoid taxes or defer taxes for generations.
Right, and that's because of these that's because of these tax bills that carve out loopholes for all of these.
Well,
people.
this tax bill didn't add or remove any of those specific loopholes. It just changed the rates and it changed some of the deductions.
It added a ton of loopholes. What are you talking about?
What loopholes specifically did it add?
I know there was one where you could write off up to I think $40,000 for tanning beds. They had write-offs for gun silencers. They had write-offs for every state. Every state had carve-outs
for gun silencers.
What's that?
The current bill reduced the tax stamp from $250 to $0 for silencers, which I agree with. By the way,
okay, but that's a tax cut.
I mean, a tax. It's a tax, I guess, on those who purchase silencers. Sure.
Cut. Yeah, but you look at this bill. You can go through every state and every one of these lobbying organizations. They all create these carve-outs. Otherwise, Elon Musk couldn't pay less than 3% income tax, right?
No, we got to be honest here. The reality is the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and the Big Beautiful Bill had nothing to do with the fact that you can hypothecate your shares and borrow against them and take an income tax-free. It has nothing to do with it. That's been around forever.
It's our tax policy. You could get rid of it.
They could get rid of it, but no one is advocating to get rid of it from either side.
I am. AOC is. Bernie Sanders is.
Okay, so in what way do you think we should get rid of that? And let me ask you, the reason why I think this is important that we draw a delineation line here is, are you also going to want to tax somebody who, let's say, purchased a home 5 years ago, has a significant amount of equity, and would like to borrow against their home's equity in order to make a purchase or fix up their house, should they have to pay tax on that loan?
How much is the house worth?
$1 million.
No.
Okay. How much would the house need to be worth for you to say?
I think once people have a net income of $10 million, this should be changed out. Yeah, I don't think that people who don't need a tax break, and this is like the game that we always play. Republicans always, to justify these tax cuts that and you would agree that tax cuts on purchasing houses, that's overwhelmingly going to affect people with money or who can afford to buy houses or can afford to buy a bigger house. It benefits them. But Republicans always say, oh, so you want to take this away from insert average person. No, because we could give that tax cut to average person without giving it to the billionaires. This is the trick they always play. Is like, give that for the middle class. This big, beautiful bill, you could have passed the middle class tax cuts and the tax cuts for poor people, and you could have increased taxes on rich people, and this would be a fiscally far more responsible bill. You could have actually paid for the cuts. You could have actually maybe eliminated the deficit, but we didn't do that. We exacerbated the deficit.
I disagree with the fact that we exacerbated the deficit. I think the CBO estimates actually show that we did not, but I think that it depends on what
CBO estimates say that we did. What are you
No,
talking
it depends
about?
on what exactly you are using for your GDP growth estimates.
Yeah.
So if you are saying static GDP growth, then yes, the deficit increases. If you show marginal increases in GDP growth, then you actually have deficit reducing at 2.8%.
But there's no basis on to say that GDP growth will be higher. That circles us back to the beginning.
I think
hold on. There's no basis. There's no statistical evidence that happens. That is entirely hypothetical. And the reason that the Fed's like, I don't know, is because it never works. Every time we do it, we don't see these massive gains in GDP. This would be the first time a tax cut actually massively increased GDP. It doesn't do that.
Well, I think that we will see that. I think that we have
why do you think that?
Why do I think that we're going to see GDP growth?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here, I'll tell you why, and it actually has to do more so with the changes in the corporate tax. So I'm actually a huge advocate. I do agree with slashing the corporate tax rate. I think at 21%, I would have loved it to get cut to 15%. They obviously took that out in the Senate amendment, but regardless, I think that lower corporate taxes makes us more competitive on the global stage, and I think that's good.
Do you have any data to back that up?
The fact that lower corporate tax rates make us more competitive on a global stage?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can look at the average corporate tax rate across different countries, and you can see we were not competitive prior.
Yeah, but we've been. Would you say that the last 60 years we've been competitive on a global stage?
Competitive for domestic manufacturing?
For just whatever we're exporting.
It's highly dependent on what specifically you're
just
referring
in
to.
overall exports.
Competitive for exports, yes, we've been.
Okay, and has the tax rate ever been this low? Corporate tax rate?
I think this is the lowest it's ever been. Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like you don't have evidence for that, right?
No, what are you talking about? I mean, we've seen.
Well, are we less? So if you looked right now, if you were to say, are we more competitive now than we were in 2016? The answer to that is no.
No, the answer is yes.
No, it's no. The answer is no. China is gaining on us.
Okay, let's talk about
so is
steel.
India. So we are less competitive when it comes on the corporate scale. Like, we actually have closer competitors, and we dropped the corporate tax rate in 2017, and that same corporate tax rate has stayed in effect until now, and now we want to drop it more. It looks like when we had the corporate tax rate at its lowest rate, that's when China started catching us. If you look at how much China has grown, they've made a lot of growth since 2017.
Well, I mean, China's been growing at a very fast clip for the past 30 years. So
I hear you, but there's no evidence that lowering the corporate tax rate is going to accomplish any of this.
I disagree with that.
I know you disagree.
I'll tell you why.
What I'm saying is there's no data, right? Because you don't have data on that.
Well, no, there is data. Well, first of all,
where would I look for it?
I'll show you here in a second. So let me cover this first, because I think that you have to look at it from an entirety of the picture rather than just say, well, there were corporate tax cuts. Because if not to go down a rabbit hole here, but realistically, Biden was giving corporate subsidies and tax cuts in the CHIPS and Science Act to bring domestic manufacturing to the U.S., and you guys cheer and clap for it, right? Now, I don't know if you do, but generally the population does.
Well,
so
it did.
They're
it
in
did
favor
work,
of tax cuts in that capacity,
but
if
it
you say
did. No,
across
those
the
aren't
board,
tax.
they hate it.
Those are subsidies. There's a
No,
difference between.
it was also, well, a subsidy. What are subsidies, though? Right?
We didn't cut the corporate tax rate for that.
Did they get tax subsidies?
Yeah, but listen.
What is that
talking,
effectively?
Hold on. We're talking about the corporate tax rate.
Okay, but I'm talking about
subsidies is an entirely different conversation.
Multinational chip manufacturers.
Brother, hold on.
Tax reduction?
Hold on, real quick. Your claim is that slashing the corporate tax rate will increase GDP. We're a long ways away from your claim right now.
True, but now what I'm pointing out really quickly on my way to proving my point is that you guys are actually in favor of, in some instances, reducing the tax burden on corporations to incentivize them to come produce domestically in the United States.
I didn't love it. I'm not a big fan of what Joe Biden did. I wish that if when we gave subsidies, we did. In fact, one of the only thing I actually think Trump has done well this entire this presidency is that when he had that steel manufacturing plant, he's basically doing socialism. He's going to force them to share the profits with the federal government. I think that's what we should have done with all of those. So I don't mind the government spending money to subsidize business, but we need a return on that investment. If we're going to subsidize it, the return, and this is why we're so stupid. Joe Biden will subsidize all of that. And then all of those people not only already had lower taxes, but now they're having their taxes cut more. So we gave them all that money, which they're not going to pay us back. And it's going to take longer to get a return on investment based on how much we're going to collect in taxes. I think it's all backwards. I think that it's silly. We should be sharing in those profits, and all of those companies and all these massive corporations that are making record profits right now. They should be paying higher taxes.
Well, I actually agree with that. And I think that's also, I agree only in the sense that we need to be competitive, and we also need to crack down on profit shifting, which is something that they did under the 2017 bill as well, right? Where they essentially, when prior to the bill, a multinational corporation that was making profits overseas did not have to pay any taxes at all unless they repatriated it to the United States. Well, that's a problem because now you've got Nike and Apple and all these large, huge conglomerates or multinationals that are making significant amounts of profits overseas, but they're not paying any taxes at all. So what Trump and Paul Ryan said was, well, what we're going to do is we're going to force you to pay a tax on that, a minimum tax. By the way, they've reduced the tax burden significantly and gave them a one-time opportunity to repatriate all that capital back to the United States, which led to $1 trillion coming in the next year, right? That's great. That's awesome. So, I mean, when you look at it,
I like that part of it. It's the thing is like I can find bits and pieces of the bill that I like, but then they fuck it all up. They do this every time. Like there is no evidence that trickle-down economics works. There's none. We have 45 years of data on this now. It is a colossal failure. It is driving us into debt. Rich people should pay very high taxes. When we were best at this country, when the middle class was its most expansive, the rich were paying a 70% top marginal tax rate. Their effective rate was like between 40 and 50%. And they were doing fine. They were doing great. And the middle class was doing better. We had better schools. We had better retirement. Companies were, rather than paying a tax bill to the government, they could write stuff off like pensions. They could write stuff off like higher wages. But they couldn't write stuff off like a yacht or a third yacht or a fifth yacht. We have completely handed over our tax policy to the richest people in this country. And then we have questions as to why we're $37 trillion in debt. We have to tax them. This experiment should be over. I honestly don't understand how people can still argue for trickle-down economics. Go look from 1982 till now and tell me economically what got better. There's one thing. Rich people are the richest they've ever been.
Well, there was significant GDP growth under Reagan, and also stagflation ended. So, I mean, there were some positive effects of supply-side economics. Am I a full bore? We should be 100% focused on supply-side economics? No, but do I believe?
Hold, real quick, can I ask you about that? Because you recognize that like there were increases right off the bat. You recognize that's just stimulus, right?
I'm sorry, I might have lost context. Are you talking about Reagan or
Reagan? Yeah.
So you're trying to make the claim that the GDP growth was due to stimulus at the time?
I'm saying that every time we do a tax cut, Reagan's tax cut, Bush's tax cuts, Trump's tax cuts, what you immediately see is an uptick because it's the same as Joe Biden investing in infrastructure, right? This is a one-time injection into the economy. In this case, they have all these tax write-offs, and they put some of that money back into the economy, and we see a one-time spike, and then it always just goes back to normal. We just get these little spikes, but overall, if you look, every time we do a tax cut, there's a little spike, and then GDP levels out, and then a little spike, and then it levels out. And where are we? We're 37 trillion in debt. The rich have never been more rich. The gap between the rich and the poor has never been bigger. The gap between the rich and the middle class has never been bigger. This doesn't work. It works for just rich people.
I just feel like your solution to the problem, which I can acknowledge does exist, is not going to work either because of the reality of capital flight, because of the reality of we no longer live in a world where...
where are they going to go? Where's the capital going to go?
Well, where did the capital go when it left the UK? It went to other parts of Europe, and it went to the United States.
I know. I'm asking you where the capital is going to go from
anywhere.
here.
Like, I don't know. Where did the capital go when it left Argentina? When Argentina was one of the large.
Let's just talk about it.
Money moves around the global world.
Yeah, but
Warren Buffett can move all of his money to Japan.
That's not
right.
Yeah, he can move his money. He can move his money to Japan all he wants to.
Yeah,
but we're talking about the biggest economy in the world. People need these companies, these people. When you say capital will flee, they can't go anywhere else, dude. They have to have us.
The idea that we will always be the largest economy in the world, I think, is misguided because the UK at one point in time was the largest. The Argentina was in the top 3 at one point in time. It's not even close anymore. There are many, many countries who have risen and fallen, and you have to continuously stay competitive. We're
not competitive. We're not competitive right now. No, we're not.
We're more competitive than we were at 35% corporate interest rates.
No, China's catching us. All these other countries, like if you go and live in anywhere in the UK, you've got health insurance. Even if life gets completely fucked, you still can go see a doctor. The quality of life in America is not that high. Go look at the Freedom Index. We don't rank high in freedom. We rank high in basically one thing. Our rich people are really fucking rich, fucking rich, and they skew all the numbers. But the average American is not living a better life than the average person in Denmark or Sweden or even Germany. Like, their quality of life is much better than ours. We just happen to have a bunch of rich people.
I think that's extremely difficult to actually measure when you talk about their quality of life. But I think the capital can certainly leave. I think that you have to have capital investment in your economy to continue to drive it forward. I think that if we, for the sake of argument,
why can't you have government investment? Why do you have to have capital investment?
And look, this is kind of a bipartisan thing too. Like, Obama was in favor of cutting the corporate tax rate back in his second term. He actually ran on it and said he was going to do it. The reason why is because we are not competitive on the global marketplace. We're attracting investment into U.S.
We don't need investment. We're the richest country on earth. No, the government can invest.
Oh my God, dude! That is a very, very socialist Democrat type.
Yeah, and that's what China does.
It's a bad move, dude.
Well, that's what China's doing, and China's beating our ass right now, aren't they?
China's not beating our ass. Well, we just absolutely crippled them with tariffs for a couple.
No, we did not cripple them in Q1.
Oh, really? Did they inject liquidity into their economy when Trump put tariffs on, or no?
In Q1, we had a negative GDP. Did they have a negative GDP?
They injected a significant degree of liquidity into their economy when
and their
the tariffs
injections of liquidity work unlike ours because their injections of liquidity are loans and they share in the profit of those injections of liquidity. But in America, when we inject liquidity, we don't get a goddamn thing for it.
Well, we get inflation, same as China.
But they get a return on investment. They are getting a return on these companies. Yes, they are.
Are you trying to say that the quality of life in China is better than in the United States for a worker?
Their trajectory is better. In 10 years, it's going to be. Yeah.
Okay, why do you think China benefits? China benefits from a couple different things, and this is one of the main reasons why Trump's populist message on trade became really popular back in 2016 when he got elected, right? I wasn't a big fan of it at the time, but I've seen the light since. The reality is China was taking advantage of the United States significantly. We mentioned steel earlier. China was heavily subsidizing its steel industry and putting the U.S. steel industry out of
why
business.
don't we do it?
No, this is a much
Why
better
can't we
approach.
do it?
Hang on. The much better approach is Obama went to the World Trade Organization 14 times and complained on China for
I don't care.
unfair trade practices.
I don't
but
care.
Trump comes in and says, you know what? Go F yourself. We're tariffing all of your steel from this point forward. And that means that all of the U.S. auto manufacturers, all of the U.S. purchasers of Chinese steel no longer are incentivized to buy the cheap Chinese steel. They buy the U.S. steel or they buy the Korean steel. Well, he also tariffed Korean steel regardless.
This is a cute story, but from 2017 until now, China has closed. But it's a success story. But during that same time period that you're talking about, China closed the gap. China's growing faster than we're growing. Their middle class is growing faster than we're growing. They are light years ahead of us on the things of the technology of the future. They're light years ahead when it comes to AI. They're light years ahead when it comes to electric vehicles. They're light years ahead when it comes to renewable energy. They are decades ahead of us in emerging technology, and you can see the gap. They are far less. When Trump took office, they relied on us like 20% of their exports went to us when Trump took office. And when Trump slapped these steel tariffs on them, what did they do? Did they come crawling? No, they didn't. They went elsewhere. They spread their wings, and now about 12% of their exports go to us. They have gotten off the United States. They don't rely on us nearly as heavily, which is why they're calling his bluff now, because he can't do anything to them. They're doing, like, it'll hurt them, but these injections that they're making, this debt that they're taking and injecting it into their economy, it has a payoff, and ours doesn't. We should be copying them, not telling them that they should do it like us.
That's just a bad take, man. I think that I think you're a bit misguided on the actual economic success of China. That's not what is currently being looked at from the, like, it's in my opinion, it is similar to looking at the USSR like 20 years prior to its collapse and saying, well, look how great.
Why is it similar?
Because first of all, it's a centrally planned economy. They have many instances. The reason actually for success in China is because they have capitalistic principles that they've started to implement in a market.
Yeah, I'm a fan of mixed economies. We also have a mixed economy here.
We do, not to the same degree as China, but regardless.
Yeah, and they're doing better than us. So why don't we copy them?
They're not doing better than us.
Then why when Trump took office were 20% of their exports coming to us, and now they're doing better than they were then, and only 12% of their exports come to us. They're diversified.
Because of Trump's tariffs. What are you talking about?
Yes, and it forced them to diversify, and now they're in a healthier position.
And it also forced us to diversify who we're purchasing from as well. And it also drove U.S. purchasers of steel to buy U.S. steel. So
and
to say his tariffs worked,
we don't share in the profits there. China does. That's the point. We're doing the same thing, but when China invests in their infrastructure, when China invests in Chinese companies, they share in the profits. We don't. We just hand them money and then we cut their taxes. We're so fucking stupid. This doesn't make any sense. We're like, here's a handout. Oh, and pay us less in taxes. That doesn't make sense.
What are you talking? First of all, the tariff is an increase in taxes on corporations. So I don't know. But who are we cutting taxes for?
I wasn't talking about tariffs.
Okay. Well, I thought we were in the context of talking about the protectionist trade policy in China and the reason why they export less to us now. That is because of tariffs, right?
Yes, but it benefited them and it did not benefit us.
I strongly disagree with the fact that it.
Well, they're more. Do you agree that them being more diversified is a healthier position for them to be in?
Sure, I would say that. That's
okay. So then they did better.
So
they're more diversified. They're less reliant on us now.
Okay, so then let me ask you this: is it better for us too?
No, we're getting our dicks.
Are we more diversified?
If you look at, like, for example, if you look at electric vehicle purchases right now, Tesla can't sell their vehicles all around the world. BYD is gobbling them up. And as BYD is expanding everywhere and everybody loves their cars, guess what? Not only does the Chinese government tax them, they share in the revenue.
Yeah, great.
So that pays for school, that pays for healthcare, that pays for infrastructure, and that pays for future investments. We don't pay for our own investments. We just keep throwing money at shit.
Well, first of all, that's not correct. I mean, Tesla is not blocked from sales all around the world.
I didn't say blocked. I said their sales are cratering. They're struggling to sell. Yeah,
that is true.
Because BYD is way better.
I don't know. I haven't seen the difference, but sure. I mean, I guess the failure of American electric cars, I'm not sure how I can see that argument makes sense in the context of U.S. protectionist trade policy with China directly.
Yeah, I'll explain it. So the United States, Tesla would be in the red. Tesla would not be a profitable company if it weren't for the United States giving them tax credits. So we subsidize Tesla. But then we are cutting their corporate tax rate, so they'll pay less, or trying to, and we cut it in 2017, and we don't share in their profits. But BYD, who the Chinese government also gave tax subsidies to and tax credits to, when they make a profit, the Chinese government shares in that profit. So
I know you've said that multiple times.
Okay, so that's the difference. In America, we just throw money at shit with no return on investment, which is why our debt is skyrocketing. And in China, even though their debt goes up, they have all these repayments headed their way. We don't have that.
Okay, I mean, I can make a very cogent argument about the tariff revenue that comes in, that it benefits in a similar fashion as what you're explaining, the profits that come in. It's a similar type of strategy, right, where the U.S. government can essentially benefit from the imports and exports that are occurring, right?
At the expense of United States taxpayers. And there is no return on investment there. All that is a tax. That is the government saying, we need to make money somehow, so we'll just tax the consumers. That's just a tax increase.
Okay, so let's just be very clear on who pays that tariff, right?
It's
who pays the tariff?
The importer, and then generally they'll pass that.
No, I want to be very specific about who the importer is.
Depends on whoever's importing the product.
Okay, who's generally a large importer? Do you think it would be like me and my wife, or do you think it would be
No, it's going to be
Apple
a corporation.
Or, yeah, exactly, large corporations, right? So the large corporations are paying the tax, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, that's good. No, good to hear. Good to hear. Do you have a problem with that?
Yes.
Why?
Because it doesn't make any sense.
Why would it not make sense?
Because it's not benefiting us.
What are you talking about? It's tax revenue.
Yeah, but that
The government can take that tax revenue and they can spend it on stuff for you.
On what? On more handouts that they won't get a return on investment on?
Well, no, I mean, here's the thing. It's tax revenue, right? Then you are in favor of higher
and then they
taxes
just
on
blow that
corporations,
money.
right?
And then they just blow that money by cutting taxes and handing it out to billionaires
Let's
again.
argue in good faith here. You are in favor
arguing in
of
good
higher
faith.
corporate taxes, right?
Yes.
Okay, but you're not in favor of the tax in the form of a tariff.
No, because I think that
Why?
because I think that is passed. Not only is it passed along to the consumer, but I see no evidence that it is a net benefit for our country.
So just to be clear, are you familiar with the studies that show that increasing the corporate tax rate, not the tariff rate, the corporate tax rate, also reflects in higher prices?
Yes.
Okay, so you're okay with increased prices for a corporate tax rate, but when it's a tariff, it's crossing the line, and I need to know exactly why there's a differentiation there.
Great, that's a good question. So the reason that I prefer a higher, the 70% rate I mentioned earlier isn't a corporate tax rate. That would be an individual tax rate. But I also support, and I don't think we need a massive corporate tax increase. I would say like 25%. But then what you have to do is you have to rework the tax structure. So I think that it would be fine if a corporation paid an effective tax rate of like 5%. I don't care what their effective rate is, as long as in order for them to get down to a lower effective rate, they were reinvesting in their employees. Then it's fine with me. Like if you're reinvesting in your employees, raising their wages, giving them better benefits, then not only does that increase tax revenue on your employees as well, but it also stimulates local economies, which raise revenues. The reason I want to do it that way is because by spreading out the amount of people who make more money or bring home more money, it's far more stimulating to the economy than centralizing those gains in the hands of a few people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that, like I said, there's a very reasonable argument to be made that you're talking about, obviously, like a socialistic type of approach to.
What's socialistic about that?
Well, I mean, like, for example, if the United States owned NVIDIA, right, and any chip that was sold, the profit went to a certain slice of that profit.
Only if the United States
States
invested in NVIDIA, not
right?
all companies.
And you're advocating for that, right? Like you are
correct. Rather than right now, we just give them money.
Right?
Sure. That point. Okay. So
That's
you're talking
fine.
about
I'm not
sharing
saying
the
it's a bad
profits.
thing. It just is what it is.
Okay, but what does that have to do with the tax policy that I just laid out there?
Here, I didn't finish my statement when you
Okay.
cut in. So what I'm saying is, in a similar fashion, where you're talking about they're receiving profits from NVIDIA sales, right? I'm saying that you could also generate revenue, profits, whatever you want to call it, from a tariff on imports from other countries, being a large consumer nation. So
I think it's incredible. I think it's a regressive. Like, I think it's been shown to be regressive. I think you're also oversimplifying this idea that it's only corporations who are importing things. This is most small businesses. This is anybody who has any sort of cheap goods. This is a souvenir store. This is any small business that really sells any sort of good. This is people who sell merchandise. This is people who work out of their house and they drop ship hats or T-shirts. It is not just corporations. This is things like bananas. We're putting a fucking tariff on bananas. We can't even grow those here.
Well, I mean, isn't Dole the company that grows bananas? And I'm pretty sure we get most of our bananas from the Philippines. I think actually.
And the Philippines is not in the United States.
I am quite sure of that. So what's wrong with tariffing bananas?
Well, because isn't the idea that we will reshore those jobs? How the fuck are we going to reshore banana?
Well, it's a
farmers?
multifaceted approach, right? I think that we should reshore jobs in technology and steel, like certain
I know, but I'm
core
talking about
pieces
bananas.
of the supply
Let's talk
chain.
about bananas. This is why this policy is nonsensical.
That's the second. No, that's the secondary part of the taxation approach, right? Where I'm saying you can generate revenue from taxing the imports of bananas, and if you cut the corporate tax rate, I'm really trying to struggle here on how you're drawing this delineation between, well, the corporate tax rate needs to be higher, but we shouldn't charge tariffs to Dole,
Correct.
who's importing their bananas from the Philippines, because that tax is not good, and it's really not computing with me why you're not able to see my argument. Right?
I just said because it's regressive. The cost winds up being generally shared by the consumer.
Same with the corporate tax rate. Studies show.
Excuse me. In my scenario, no, it doesn't, because a corporation. So long as they are reinvesting in their employees, not their shareholders, not teams, none of that shit. We can incentivize good behavior, and then that does not cause inflation. In fact, that spreads the wealth more evenly, and that happened.
That's a very good point. I actually agree with you on that point, and I think that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act does that. It actually has.
In fact, that's
a very good point. I actually agree. Domestic only research and development cost, and allows you to charge it in 1 year instead of amortizing it over 5 years, which is going to
not investing in your employees. That's investing in R&D. No, that's investing in R&D.
Okay, what's a component of R&D?
Research and development.
You don't think humans at all are involved in research and development?
I think you'd be hard pressed to show me a time when an increased R&D budget generally went to the wages of the people doing R&D.
I got to tell you, man.
Could you give me an example?
You're on the right track here.
Could you give me an example? Like I used to, I worked in the office of this place that manufactured synthetic diamonds.
Yeah.
And whenever they increased their R&D budget, none of us got a raise, and none of the people working on the floor got a raise. The R&D budget paid for new machinery, and that new machinery would pump out more diamonds, and we would get small raises. But you know who made a lot of money during that time? The CEO. You know who else made a lot of money during that time? The original investors. They made far more than we did. And the R&D budget went to attract new investors and to mass produce these diamonds quicker. And then they shared most of that revenue amongst the people who weren't working. I'm saying we should incentivize these companies to stop this garbage way of running our economy, where we take care of investors first and employees last. I think we incentivize all the wrong behavior. We need to incentivize paying workers again. That's what we used to do here.
I'll give you an example here.
And we didn't have capital flight when we did that, by the way.
Well, sure. I'll give you an example.
Capital flight started when we cut the tax rates. I grew up in Utah. We had Geneva Steel that employed like half our county, and basically late 80s, early 90s, all of a sudden Geneva Steel was headed overseas. Post those tax cuts that Ronald Reagan gave.
Hey, I'm just giving everybody a 15-minute. We're going to wrap up in 15 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So I'm going to give you a quick example here. So first of all, according to the National Science Foundation, 2/3 of U.S. business research and development budgets are labor costs. So 2/3.
Yeah, but I said it doesn't increase how much they're making.
I beg to differ. So here,
Okay,
and
do you
I'll
have
tell
a
you
stat
what.
that says that? Do you have a stat that says otherwise?
I work for a Fortune 50 tech company who has been very, very actively for the past many years. I can't say too much on people. Well, actually, it's a common story. A lot of offshoring of jobs, right? There is a lot of positive momentum for stopping that offshoring of jobs because a large part of our expense at the tech company is research and development. So if they can write off that R&D expense in 1 year instead of amortizing over 5 years, it incentivizes them to stop offshoring these jobs to overseas.
This is
extremely beneficial to someone like me, the worker, who benefits from job security and wage
long term.
growth.
It's not better. Long term, it's not better. You're talking about a one-time tax break, which will drive revenues down in this country. And yes, they might increase your wages, but then they don't get that tax break again. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
It's an ongoing.
This is stimulus, not an effective long-term plan.
Incentives
They're
matter.
always going to be able to write off all of their R&D.
Yes, every year, yeah.
Okay, and how significant?
How
How significant do you think that's going to be for most of America?
For American companies, like large tech companies?
No, for most of America. Most of us don't get a dime from increased R&D. It's a very small amount of people who are going to be making slightly more money for this.
You underestimate the effect that it will have on U.S. wage growth, because the fact of the matter is incentives matter here, man. Incentives matter.
How's it going to
thing that
increase
matters
wage?
in business.
How many people are? How many Americans do you think are going to see their wages increase from a write-off of R&D budget?
I think it's going to be pretty significant.
How
I don't know. I'm not going to speculate and try to pretend that I know those numbers, but I foresee that it will be a very significant.
Do you know how many people work in R&D?
Yeah, a lot. Yes.
How many? Would you guess?
I don't know, man. I wouldn't be able to guess that number.
About 2 million people. So out of the 330 or the 180 million workers, 2.1 million work in R&D. Not all of those R&D companies, not all of those companies necessarily are going to invest heavily in R&D. But if they do, we're talking about a one-time stimulus for 2.1 million or 2.8 million people. Sorry, 2.8 million people.
Do you have a source for your 2 million? Because I don't know how you'd find that data. Is it like a Bain Capital study, or what's going on with it?
Let me see what their source was here. National Science Foundation. Same one you just used.
Same one I just used? All right, so I'll have to take it since I used it as well. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I mean, look, I generally...
see how that doesn't fix any of these...
It fixes it for me. I work in R&D. So.
I know, it only fixes it for you, but I'm looking at this
I'm one of 2 million people.
Yeah, but I'm looking at this holistically. If you're saying that you vote for it because it's better for you, fine. But I'm talking about looking at the bigger picture. And it's just crazy to me that we have this argument. For 60 years in this country, recovering from the Great Recession, we built the greatest middle class the world has ever seen. And we did it with high top marginal tax rates. We did it with a progressive tax system. And as soon as we switched to trickle-down economics and this regressive tax system, from 1982 on, you have seen a complete flip where the 1% and the 0.1% keep accumulating more and more wealth, and the gap between the middle class and the wealthy has never been greater. There's no real good argument against this other than like vibes. We have 60 years of data at a high marginal tax rate. We've got 45 years of data of trickle-down economics. Trickle-down economics, by every measure, is a categorical failure. And if we were limited like states were, where we had to have a balanced budget, we would have been bankrupt forever ago. Similar to when Kansas actually did trickle-down economics with Art Laffer, using the Art Laffer curve. And within 3 years, they had to fire him, run him out of the state because he ran up deficits and they were bankrupt. Because Art Laffer's a fucking idiot, and people still
Laffer curve makes sense, though, theoretically.
Yeah, it didn't, though. They did it in Kansas, and it bankrupted the state.
I mean, let's be 100% clear with me here. You don't think that the theory behind the Laffer curve makes logical sense?
No, the Laffer curve is economics for lazy people.
Okay. Well,
No,
I
because it is.
disagree.
What's the Laffer curve? It's not backed by data. It's
GDP growth versus tax rate. I mean, look, there is a local maximum and minimum when you look at.
How do you bankrupt Kansas then? Why did Kansas go bankrupt? If he's so fucking good at it,
It's a
why'd they ran him
multivariate
out-
issue,
They
bro.
ran
It's
him
a
out after
multivariate issue.
3.
There's revenues and expenses, and also measuring the amount of revenue you get is
Yeah,
difficult.
and in order for the
State
Laffer curve to work, everything has to go perfectly. And
Yeah, it's not perfect science.
and it's never going to go perfectly, which is why it will categorically fail every time.
I
Because
disagree.
as soon as you have deficit spending, you don't ever make up that deficit spending.
Well, I disagree, and I mean I think that there's
Take it up
we
with Kansas.
increased total tax revenue. We cut taxes across the board, and we increased tax revenue, right?
Yeah, lower than
Okay.
than what we would have had
We
we
set
not cut
records
taxes.
pretty much every single year after the tax cuts. We continuously set records.
Brother,
for
every
tax
year we increase revenue.
Not every year. Not
Yes,
every year.
during Obama's administration, I'm pretty sure we increased revenue.
I don't think that's true. But
Okay, let's see.
Regardless, this cooling effect on revenue that you're trying to say happened didn't happen. What happens is we also spend more every time. So,
Yeah,
and these deficit.
because we have debt.
What do you mean because we have debt? Well, we spend more for multiple different reasons.
Yes, but the one that continues every single year that gets bigger every single year is the debt.
Is the debt expense? Are you talking about interest on the debt? Is
Yeah.
that what you're concerned about? Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's a problem. Yeah, and I think we should. The Federal Reserve should be cutting rates, and we should be refinancing our debt and paying less interest. But regardless, here's what I'll say. I think that.
Wait, hold on, real quick. I just want so we can make this point because you said it's not true. Here's Obama's presidency in revenue by year: 2.1 trillion, 2.16 trillion, 2.3 trillion, 2.45.
Okay, so it went down.
2.78. No, it never went down.
You said 2.6 and 2.3.
No. 2.11, 2.16, 2.3, 2.45, 2.78, 3.02, 3.25, 3.27. And with Trump, he went.
Keep going for Trump.
And with Trump, he went 3.32, 3.33, 3.46, 3.42. Significantly lower.
Okay, but there were tax cuts.
Yes. And that it also increased the deficit.
Better.
So revenues grew at a slower rate and the deficit went up.
The deficits are we disregarding C-19 spending for our deficit spending, or
I didn't count C-19 in that.
And when we look at the deficit, we look at a 10-year deficit, right?
No, I'm looking at the deficit by
Okay,
year.
so if you look at the average deficit ran by each president, who ran a higher deficit on average, Trump or Biden?
Are you counting COVID spending?
You can also include COVID spending.
Well, I would take COVID spending out, and then it's
Okay, then take COVID spending out. It makes it even worse for Biden.
No, Biden was decreasing the deficit.
No, he did not, dude. What are you talking about? Absolutely not. The annual deficit continuously increased under him. As a matter of fact,
It continuously
it was like
increases under every president.
well, then why'd you make the claim that he was decreasing it?
He was decreasing the amount that deficit spending was increasing.
That's not true at all either. No.
Well, I
it's
can give you.
wrong.
Do you want the numbers?
I mean, you could pull up a graph.
All right.
I can pull up a graph too if you want me to.
All right. So then let's look at Biden in what was deficit spending in his first year was 2021, which we can agree is COVID spending. We can throw that out. It's 2.78 trillion in deficit spending, right?
Yeah.
2022 was 1.3.
Yeah.
Then it was 1.69.
Okay.
And it was 1.86. That's when the COVID spending ended. And what's the projected? What was the projected spending? Where'd we go? 1.78, right? That's projected in 2025 now.
I believe you.
Yeah. You look at if you go look at Obama, you can go start in 2015.
Well, hang on. You made a claim, right? You made a claim about Biden decreased the acceleration of the increase of deficit spending, which I can prove pretty straightforward that did not happen.
I said when COVID spending ended,
continued
which was
to increase at a
2025.
faster clip under Biden than it did under Trump.
No, I said, wait, what?
The deficit spending under Biden was not only higher on average, it also increased more than it did each year
because of
under
COVID.
Trump.
Because of COVID spending. But when you got rid of COVID spending, you can see it trending back the other direction, right?
No, that's not true.
Go look at we'll see 2025. If 2025 is projected, then that's going to be true, but we don't know yet. But look at Trump. Look at 17. Did deficit spending increase or decrease? in 2018.
It increased every year under Trump, and it increased every year also under Obama.
So we cut taxes, revenues slowed, and deficit spending increased. But if you want to go back to Obama, start in 2009. Was the level of deficit spending increasing or decreasing before Trump took over?
Under Obama, it was decreasing before Trump took over.
Yeah, and then Trump cut taxes, slowed revenues, and then increased spending.
He did not slow revenues. Revenues continued to increase.
No, the rate of growth slowed.
Sure, I can take that argument. That sounds fair.
So why would we look at Obama's record, who didn't cut taxes and who did spend more, who was closer to fixing deficit spending, and why would we look at Obama's record and Trump's record and say, let's do it Trump's way?
Well, first of all, I mean, you got 8 years of Obama, 4 years of Trump, which include 1 year of C-19. I would think a better and more apt comparison would be Trump-Biden, but you could also make the argument of like lag effects from Trump's policy changes and under Trump's. So it's a difficult comparison to make.
I would use Trump-Biden because Trump under Biden we were under Trump's tax policy. Same exact.
I'm given the 4-minute warning.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's the thing, man.
But should we at least admit that this graph makes it look like Obama was a hell of a lot better than Trump's tax cut?
Are you talking about specifically with decreasing deficit spending?
Yeah. And when we went over tax revenues, he was increasing tax revenues at a faster rate. So not only were we taking care of deficit spending and we were moving in the right direction, our revenues were going up at a quicker rate than they did under Trump.
I just think that there's not really enough like macroeconomic data for you to make a claim that the Biden's policies were the reason why that you had faster
Obama.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That Obama's policies had that kind of effect.
It's not about his policies. It's about regressive tax policies, and Republicans believe in a regressive tax policy that drives slows down revenues and drives up deficits. And Democrats, by doing nothing, will outperform Republicans. And I would rather Democrats do something, but if they just do nothing, they will outperform tax cuts. Tax cuts are literally the worst thing you can do for our deficit.
I disagree. I think there are cuts that you can make to offset. Obviously, that we're doing now, which we didn't get to talk about. The other cuts that are in the bill, the sequestration cuts, the pay-go cuts because of the tax cuts. But regardless, I mean, look,
I agree with you. I agree you could cut enough. Like if you're going to slow revenues, then you need to cut spending. But they didn't cut spending here. They increased spending, and they're asking for the debt limit ceiling to be raised to $5 trillion, which means they're going to sell at least $5 trillion in debt.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. I will concede this to you. I will say that Republicans always champion this concept of being like deficit hawks and cutting spending. And there is a large caucus in the party that do advocate for that. But it's like the same promise as like the Democrats saying they're going to codify Roe v. Wade. It is like a embedded belief of the constituents that may not ever get followed through on by the actual politicians. So now, do I think that would I love for them to actually cut spending and reduce the deficit, and we can all feel a bit more comfortable about what's going on? Sure, that would be great, but it's politics, man.
Looking at these numbers, then why would you keep voting for Republicans if clearly it works better under Democrats?
Democrats are not deficit hawks like they pretend to be right now. They clearly do the exact same thing.
No, that's not the exact same thing. We just looked at Obama's numbers. It's the exact opposite. Obama's numbers were lowering deficit spending. Trump's numbers are increasing deficit spending. You just looked at
I would rather have tax cuts and cut spending than have increased taxes and more government spending. So I
agree with you, but I'm saying if we're just comparing Obama's way versus Trump's way, obviously Obama's way is better. I understand that if you had your way, you cut enough spending, then Trump's way would be better, but it's not. Like if you just compare their actual record, Obama was fiscally far more responsible.
I think that there's more data to look at.
Just let him finish, Jen. Just let him finish real quick.
The only thing I would say is there's more data that would be needed to look at to come to that conclusion. But I enjoyed the conversation with you, man, for sure. I think there's good arguments on each side. So
thanks, man.
All right, yeah, have a good one.
Thank you, Rob, for coming up. That was actually interesting. I mean, I think he cooked RTP all the way, no doubt about it.
I mean, that's what he said he was doing in the chat, right?
You need to stop telling people that.
No, he's a smart guy. There was stuff he told me that I didn't know for sure.
yeah, I mean, you can't take that away from him. I mean, the kid was, shoot. All right.
All right. Anything else you guys want to say? I was curious. I didn't know if you were still awake. You were awfully quiet. I wasn't sure if you were laying in a dog bed somewhere or.
No, so I went down to Texas on Thursday, and I was gonna enjoy, and
What?
let's just say that I averaged my temperature averaged 103 all the way through Sunday night. I don't know what it was.
Like a fever or like.
Yeah, fever.
Or you were just really warm.
No, fever.
Ah.
My highest was Saturday night. It was at 103.3. Now, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was gone. I mean, it was horrible, man. It was golly.
Well,
So
I'm glad you're back with us.
Yeah, I kind of have to stay away from edibles, because, yeah. We'll just leave that alone.
All right. Well, all right. Well, that was fun. We'll do it again.
That was actually fun. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Jay, as usual. I gotta give a big shout out to Amanda. I don't know where she keeps coming with these guys, man. That was pretty good.
She's the MAGA whisperer.
She's got a
I
stable.
know, bro.
I like coming.
I know. It's like, holy shit. But shout out to you. Are you going
God
live tomorrow,
forbid a
Amanda?
girl wants to come. God forbid.
Jesus.
Whoa.
I mean, girls matter too. That's all that matters.
Facts, Jen.
So, but that was fun. So,
Yeah, hold on. Well, I'm just saying, Amanda, you going live tomorrow?
Yes, sir. 8:00.
What's 8 o'clock Eastern, right?
Eastern. Yes.
Okay. Everybody, make sure you check her out, man. We're gonna be over there, and so. Jay, Amanda, everybody.
Spencer's
Okay.
waiting to yell tomorrow because he was yelling in the comment section and trying to get back up here. I told him to go over there tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Shall be interested.
So,
but everybody, thank you very much.
Tomorrow, RTP from 9:31 Pacific each day. Sometimes on TikTok when he doesn't get banned. So
2 days in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, take that.
knock on wood again. Like I said.
Yeah, don't